We're sponsored by Wendy's new Biggie Deals. Showdown in the Western Conference tonight. Lakers in Oklahoma City taking on the defending champs, the Oklahoma City Thunder. That game will be at 6:30. You hear that right here on San Diego Sports 760. OKC was an early open as a 6.5-point favorite. That has been bet up to 9.5. Choose one of Wendy's new Biggie Deals at $4, $6, and $8. Pick one of the new Biggie Deals you're craving for a pretty Biggie deal. Got to be Wendy's. U.S. price participation may vary.
Let's get it going on a Thursday. What's happening, everybody? Ben Fletcher, Sammy Long with you till 2 o'clock today. Sammy will keep it going then from 2 to 3. John Schaefer and Alan Sliwa after that. Happy to have you with us here on a Thursday where we are going to be giving away some Charlie Puth tickets. So don't go anywhere. Those are coming up within the next couple of hours. A pair of tickets for his April 22nd show. Look, we got a busy one today. I'll kind of set the table here. Coach Kentera is going to be joining us at 12:30 to talk some Padres baseball. At 1:30, the voice of the Lakers, the voice of March Madness for Westwood One, Jason Horowitz is going to be joining us here on the show. And kind of great timing. We had Jason on to talk about the NCAA tournament and the Final Four coming up this weekend. But he also is the play-by-play voice of the Las Vegas Raiders, which you hear here on San Diego Sports 760 during the NFL season. And the Raiders made a move today, bringing Kirk Cousins onto the squad ahead of them most likely picking Fernando Mendoza with the number 1 overall pick. So we got drama out in Raiderland. We'll get to that with Jason Horowitz coming up in about an hour and a half. A very fun show planned for you. We are going to start with the Padres here, who, how about the offense? Coming to life a little bit yesterday. Now, a lot of it could be placed on San Diego. Casey Schmidt, the third baseman for the San Francisco Giants, but a lot of it is the Padres offense getting going a little bit, and it had to happen at some point, right? And it does yesterday. So good for the Padres. Getting a win, having the day off today, heading out to Boston for a 3-game weekend series with the Red Sox. Fun to see them get a win last night. Before we get going any further, Sammy Long, you ready to have a great show?
I am ready to have a great show.
You ready to have the most spectacular, fantastic, incredible show you've ever had in your entire life?
I am. We have a really good sports day ahead of us.
We do. And in the middle of all of it, somehow LeBron James is on a bunch of YouTube golf channels all of a sudden in the middle of the season, which if I'm a Lakers fan, I don't know. I might be kind of ticked off. But as a fan of YouTube golf, LeBron's never been more likable.
I was telling you before the show, the Lakers did a little golf excursion at the Riviera a couple weeks ago, and Reeves apparently is the stick on the team.
Yeah, that makes sense. Doesn't it?
White boy from Oklahoma. Come on now.
That makes sense. It was either going to be him or Luka, right? And it just happened to be Austin Reeves. So good for him, I guess. The funniest thing, we used to play golf all the time when Big Ridge Stadium Fletch, when we were doing mornings, because we'd be done with work essentially at 10:30 a.m. every day. Now all of us work all day long, but we would golf probably twice a month. We would get out there. And so we played Madeiras one time. And in front of us was the entire Diamondbacks pitching staff because they were in town for a series against the Padres. Tell you who's a stick. Zach Gallen can play some golf.
Really?
I'm not even kidding, man. We were the group behind him, and every single shot he was hitting driver like 320. The dude can play some golf, but neither here nor there. LeBron James is somehow on YouTube golf, which is not where we're going to start the show, but it's kind of hilarious.
Real quick,
they're in the playoff push, man. This is like the time.
They got a massive game tonight against the Thunder, and a lot's going to come from that game. The Lakers want to be really considered contenders because the last month has been great. You win this game tonight, and then we start looking at the Lakers in a really different light, but going to be a tough task. But that's weird, though, with the Gallen thing, because usually hockey players are sticks out on a golf course, and baseball players aren't because of the different kinds of
except
swings.
for pitchers. Pitchers oftentimes on road trips, if they're not scheduled to start during a road trip, like if it's a 3-game series and their name isn't going to be called for one of the games, starting pitchers play a ton of golf during the regular season. Relief pitchers play even more than that. So they just find the best golf course in whatever town they're in and they play. All right, Padres yesterday, they get the win over the San Francisco Giants. And it was a good game. Look, man, Nick Pivetta, I think, put a lot of questions to bed. Maybe it was just a rocky start in his first appearance. He was throwing strikes yesterday, had a ton of strikeouts pile up for him. The Giants looked hapless at times against Nick Pivetta, and he pitched fantastic. 10 hits for the Padres yesterday, which for anybody watching these games, breathes a little life into you. Even though the 8th into the 9th inning, the Padres got probably way too many hits and way too many walks because I thought it made Mason Miller get a little bit cold leading out to the bottom of the ninth. But it was a very good game for the Padres yesterday. We kind of called that on the air yesterday after the disappointment that it's been to start the season, that the Padres were due for a big day, and they got it yesterday. Now, the boiling point for today's conversation surrounding Padres baseball, and I'll be honest, I don't really care about this at all. In fact, I'm gonna defend Craig Stammen a little bit. But according to Kevin Acee and according to Craig Stammen himself after the game, he kind of handed off lineup duties to the bench coach for the Padres. And people are upset about this. And I guess I get the reason why, because Craig Stammen is the manager. It should be his responsibility. And, oh, man, things weren't going well, so you automatically just give it up. I don't see it that way at all. But I'll ask you, Sammy, before I kind of give my opinion on it. Craig Stammen, full control of the lineup for the first 5 games. Craig Stammen gives up the lineup. I love the way yesterday's lineup looked, by the way. To the bench coach, and things obviously go quite a bit different. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I don't think it's as big a deal, and I think this is where you're going as well, but I don't think it's as big a deal as people are making it out to be. Like, if an NBA coach was like, I'm not calling out plays, and all my assistants are going to be calling the plays, I go, okay, well now I'm like, what are you there for? When NFL head coaches, we see some take over the offense or the defense, call one side of the ball. McDonald for the Seahawks called the defense. Andy Reid calls the offense for the Chiefs. Like, do we see coaches, though, not call one side of the ball? But in the NFL, I kind of get it if you don't want to do that because there's so much to deal with, to managing a team. There's 53 guys on a roster. There's a lot that goes into that in scouting. But with baseball, it is so. I mean, the last 10 to 15 years, 20 years, ever since Moneyball in the A's, it's such an analytics game, and a lot has been made of, do managers really matter? Now, I do think someone at the helm that people believe in, players believe in, can make tough decisions, certainly when it comes to relievers and things like that. But gone are the days of we're just bringing in relievers on a hunch. Now it's the analytics department telling you this is a righty-lefty matchup, or this guy is, throws the best slider and against these 3. I mean, it's so heavy analytics. I don't think it's as big a deal as I see a lot of people making it out to be, because a lot of people hand this off to their analytics departments in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, what's interesting is I don't know what else you would want Craig Stammen to do. Like, the biggest concern about Craig Stammen coming into this year is, well, he's never filled out a lineup card before. Well, Craig Stammen's never coached his peers before, which is what he's being asked to do right now. And so by Craig Stammen handing off lineup responsibilities for one game, by the way, to Randy Knorr, and after the game, Craig Stammen said, look, I was just kind of tired, and I asked around if anybody had any lineup suggestions, and Randy Knorr said, I already drew one up for you. Here you go. He said, that looks good. Let's rock. And so that's what the conversation was, it sounds like, in the coaching room. But here's what I would say. I guarantee you 75% of managers at the major league level are probably handing off some duties to other people. And I promise you, in every Major League Baseball clubhouse, there is input coming from all sorts of directions, and the manager takes that in and puts it down. I would also say it sounds like Craig Stammen's pretty good at just sort of shifting off praise and taking blame so far. I think that's one of my biggest credits to him as a manager. And so far, Craig Stammen has taken the blame about lineups. He said, I didn't do a great job a couple of times. And this time, there should be some praise heaped on. I thought that was the best Padres lineup on the outset, outside of Johnson maybe, that I've seen all year long. And he gives the credit to someone else. I don't think that's a bad quality whatsoever. In fact, I'm more than okay with it, because I promise you, you can think of examples in the NBA. I know I brought this one up pre-show and Sammy didn't love it, but like JJ Redick, what the Lakers did was hire a bunch of former coaches around him when he got hired as the Lakers head coach, because he had no experience in this past. That ended up proving great, and JJ Redick's had about a smooth transition from player to podcast host to coach you've ever seen. With Craig Stammen, he had all the intangibles. That's why AJ Preller wanted him to come back, because he was kind of already a coach while he was playing. But what the Padres did was very smart. Think about the guys in the system around him. Buddy Black is now in the Padres system. And Randy Knorr is in the Padres system. So there's people around him to give input, and at times, sure, take over the entire lineup card. And yesterday, with Fernando Tatis Jr. moving back to the top of the lineup, even though it wasn't the best matchup for Fernando Tatis Jr., I think the Padres understood, no, we need his energy, his juice at the top. And by the way, historically, he just plays better at the top of the lineup. So even if it's not the right righty-left combination that you want for Fernando Tatis Jr., it still works out better having your best player at the top of the lineup. And it bared fruit yesterday, so good for Craig Stammen.
To that, your point you made about Tatis, it is, we've seen that change in baseball. Like, look at the Dodgers. Mookie Betts, when Ohtani was signed, was the leadoff guy.
Shohei's the leadoff hitter.
It was the leadoff hitter, but now it's, and then Mookie Betts got hurt. All of a sudden, they're like, well, I mean, Shohei Ohtani is the best hitter on the team. Why would you not just want him up as much as possible? So I'm totally with that. Having Tatis up as much as possible is the way to go. But yeah, I think this is a real overblown narrative that is getting a lot of press today, bad press today, that I think is, do I have concerns about Craig Stammen? Yeah. But I don't think this is the thing to bash Craig Stammen on.
It's a long season, and we need to grab onto something every game, don't we, Sammy? That's what you do. Even in a win, you got to find some reason to be pissed off. All right, it is San Diego Sports 760. Let's hit the big three here. We got some excellent sound, by the way, coming at you in about 5-6 minutes. Ted Leitner was on the morning show today. Him and Jim Laslovic stopped by the studio. If you want to find that interview, it's about 15 minutes long. Look up Big Rich, TD, and Fletch on the free iHeartRadio app. You can find it there. But I had some fun chatting with some legends. So you'll hear from Uncle Teddy coming up in about 6-7 minutes here on San Diego Sports 760. But Sammy, let's get to the big three. Go ahead, smash.
Your lunch break is here. Ready to go back to the office and knock the socks off your friends? I mean, coworkers? It's time for the top stories of the day. The Big Three.
All right, I'm popping open the computer and the text line is open. So get your text in 70470. Start your message with the word team. YouTube chat is open as well at San Diego Sports 760. And of course, if you're listening on the old school AM radio dial, do us a favor. Download the free iHeartRadio app. Pop us on there. You get to hear us in crystal clear HD. You can leave talkbacks all show long. We'd love to hear from you as well. Sammy, where do you want to go?
All right, let's start with the Raiders. Kirk Cousins signs today. Clint Kubiak, the new head coach of the Raiders, has made it a point that he likes someone to mentor. Fernando Mendoza, projected number 1 overall pick. And actually, it's sounding like Kirk Cousins might get the starting nod, at least for a while, of the season. Do you like the Kirk Cousins signing, and do you like them potentially not going with Mendoza right away?
Personally, I do. And I know this is mine and Sammy's biggest differential in all of sports is that Sammy thinks if you're drafting a guy with the number 1 overall pick, he just needs to be put in there right away. I think it would benefit Fernando Mendoza for Kirk Cousins to come in and be the starter at the beginning. Let him marinate and learn from a dude who started on a bunch of different teams and found a lot of regular season success. I think Kirk Cousins has like 1 playoff win in his entire career, but a lot of regular season success Kirk Cousins has had and worked with a lot of different people. So I think Kirk Cousins can come in, show Fernando Mendoza how to be a pro, make that transition from college life to pro life a little bit easier. And then week 6, all of a sudden Fernando Mendoza jumps in and you get to see what you got. But I don't think it needs to be a rush to get a sprint to get him to start week 1 of the regular season. I think the only person that does a disservice to is Fernando Mendoza. So I think this is smart by the Raiders.
Yeah, we disagree on this, but I will say the Raiders, I have less of a problem with it because the Raiders aren't in a market for a quarterback next year.
Right.
However Mendoza plays, you took him with the number 1 overall pick, he's going to be the guy. Now, we saw the Cardinals were the first team ever to draft Josh Rosen high and then give him a year, not the first team ever, but you have a top draft pick and then they end up getting Kyler Murray next year. The Raiders, Mendoza's the thing, the future of the Raiders. So I guess I hear where it's like, let Cousins go if you don't think he's ready. You're in a brutal division against 3 teams that are all projected to be better than you right now. So this is not a cakewalk division. But I do lean on the side of get him some experience and let him know that he's going to be the guy of the future versus just sitting him all year. And then his rookie season is when the Raiders the following season, when the Raiders are geared up trying to make a playoff push and he's having a rookie mistake. So
do you think if Mahomes started week 1 of his rookie season, he would have had the same success as early as he did?
No, but Mahomes is also a much rawer prospect than Mendoza is.
Do you think that's true? I don't know if that's true.
I mean, they talk about Mahomes' footwork in college was awful.
Right. And he was literally a gunslinger in college. And he learned a lot that rookie season from Alex Smith, I think, who's always been a very good, composed adult
1,000,000%. But he also came out of an air raid offense. And before Patrick Mahomes and then Josh Allen after, we had never seen a quarterback that had ever had success coming from an air raid offense where it's basically, if you don't know what air raid offense is, it's 4 verts all the time. It's receivers running route trees. It's not a lot for quarterbacks to process. So historically, air raid offense quarterbacks hadn't had success in the NFL because of the minutia of reading a defense. But no, I agree with you. I mean, Mahomes would not have been as good immediately had he started.
I think this could be really good. And I would compare Kirk Cousins to Alex Smith all day long, by the way. I think this is a very similar situation. Yeah. And if it works out for Fernando Mendoza, that'd be great. All right, what's next?
All right, we'll get to the let's get to the Lakers a little bit later. We have a little more time. The Warriors, so get this, the Warriors pursued Kawhi Leonard per the SF standard at the trade deadline, and they're expected to pursue him in the offseason as well. Now, Steph Curry's expected to return later this weekend. They're sitting there in the bottom of the Western Conference playing. Got dismantled by the Spurs last night, but no one played. Would this fit? Would Steph and Kawhi fit at all? Because off the jump, I think that's a horrible idea.
So do I. I think it sells a lot of tickets, though. I really do. We got to give our buddy some credit on this. Mark Willard. He was talking about this months ago. He said, don't be shocked if the Warriors make a run at Kawhi Leonard. And then nothing really happened with it. And then all of a sudden now all the official reports come out. But credit to Mark Willard on this. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I do think that Joe Lacob and the Warriors are trying to cash in on whatever superstar bravado that Steph has left. I think that was part of the Jimmy Butler move, by the way, even though that felt a little more like winning now. The Kawhi Leonard thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, although it does benefit the Clippers in getting out of there's new news about the Steve Ballmer Kawhi investigation today, which is still going on somehow. And it helps the Warriors out, making sure that over the next year or two, they are still selling out all those suites to all the tech guys.
It feels like the Warriors are just trying to hold on to what they had.
I know. They got to move on.
Dynastic run. Unbelievable run, a run in the NBA that will be remembered forever, not only just in the NBA, but in sports. But Curry's getting up there in age. You get a guy who's older in Porzingis, get rid of Jonathan Kuminga. Jimmy Butler's getting up there in age, coming off an Achilles injury. And then you're going to add another guy in Kawhi Leonard, who might be the most injury-prone player in the league. I got to give the Clippers a lot of credit because the Clippers were headed with James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, to be a really old team that was going to be terrible for years to come. You get Benedict Mathurin, you get Darius Garland, two young potential superstar guards, and the Clippers now have a future going forward. It feels like the Warriors are just getting older, and I don't see that equating to wins in the Western Conference.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a quick break here. We can get to the Lakers on the other side. We have some awesome sound. Uncle Teddy joined the morning show today on 101.5 KGB and gave us his thoughts about that final call. Lamont Butler at the buzzer, which yesterday was the, I think, 4-year anniversary from that play. So Uncle Teddy was the man on the mic then. You'll hear Uncle Teddy on the mic now. Coming up next, it's San Diego Sports 760. You're listening live on the iHeartRadio app. Breathe it in.
There we go.
Oh my God, is it Mason? Is he coming in? San Diego Sports 760. Nice touch, Sammy, on the music. Little Blind by Korn bringing us in. All right, it's San Diego Sports 760. Say it again.
This is Holy Diver by Dio.
Oh, I thought we were doing the Mason Miller thing.
Oh, no, it's just Holy Diver by Dio. It has like a minute-long intro.
Oh, I apologize. I got excited for a second. It's San Diego Sports 760. Ben Fletcher, Sammy Long with you till 2 o'clock. Sammy's going for an hour after that. And then right after that, Schaefer and Sliwa, the brand new show here on San Diego Sports 760, taking you home every day from 3 to 6. Fridge Watchers on YouTube saying, hola, boys. Hola, Fridge Watcher. Thank you for being here. 615, talking about our Raiders conversation. I think Kirk Cousins to the Raiders makes perfect sense, especially considering that he is likely Mendoza's father. They for sure both shop at the same department stores. They got loads of Kohl's cash, baby.
Big Kmart guys.
Big Kmart guys. 858. Fletcher's right on this one. Sammy, let Mendoza learn for 4 to 8 games. Raiders still need a year or two before they are serious contenders. Yeah, and the roster's not complete, right? You can kind of see the framework of what the Raiders are trying to build. Quarterback is the next piece, and I do think Fernando Mendoza is that guy. But young running back, young superstar, tight end. You got an aging defensive lineman and Max Crosby, who is still at the peak right now, but is going to fall off dramatically in the next couple of years, we think. And so as they're building this thing, it almost makes sense that not a contender this year, let Fernando Mendoza bake a little bit.
But the Max Crosby point right there, then if
he's not part of the Super Bowl Raiders team in their plan right now.
Exactly. So if I'm the Raiders and you're going to go with this, which I don't agree with, but if the Raiders are going to, then you have to trade Max Crosby because Max Crosby's value.
They tried.
And right. But I mean, even if they don't
did
get that,
trade Max Crosby.
But the Cowboys would still be interested. The Bears would still be interested. The entire league would still be interested. Are you still going to get 2 first-round picks? Not necessarily because of the knee injury. But if you wait a year or two for Mendoza to be ready and the Raiders are trying to go win, all of a sudden Max Crosby's 30. He's 31 years old. He does not command anywhere near the same kind of trade interest he would have right now. I have no problem with the Raiders going like, we're pumping the brakes. We're going to finish 4th in the division, but we're going to be a fun team that has prospects for the future. But I mean, if you're going to go this route of not starting Mendoza, I think getting Max Crosby out of town has to be the next move.
I do too. That does need to happen. And maybe it's not this off season. Maybe it happens a little closer to the draft. And maybe it happens a couple weeks into the season, but I do think that needs to be a priority for them. All right. Let's hear from Uncle Teddy Leitner. So Uncle Teddy Leitner, if you missed any of John's show in the afternoon, him and Sliwa, they played this back a couple times. But yesterday was the anniversary from that 2022 game, or I guess 2023 game after the 2022 season, where Lamont Butler hit one of the most famous shots in San Diego sports history, the Butler at the buzzer shot. And Teddy Leitner was on the call then. Do you have the shot pulled up itself, Sammy? I sent you that in an email a little bit earlier. Let's hear that awesome night when Lamont Butler hit Butler at the buzzer.
On the drive against AG, puts it up short, rebound, AG. AG got the rebound. Here are the Aztecs down 1, 4, 3. Lamont Butler, pull up jump shot. Good. They're storming the court. Who's going to the championship game? Not FAU. No. The San Diego State Aztecs are going to the NCAA championship game on Monday. How about them Aztecs? How about them boys?
I'm telling you, that night I was cutting highlights here in studio for that game, and I almost lost that entire piece of audio because Brent and I were running around like crazy when that shot went in. But an amazing moment. That was an awesome night all those years ago, just a few years ago now. But Lamont Butler at the buzzer, we brought that up to Uncle Teddy this morning because he joined us over on 101.5 KGB. Him and Jim Laslovic are actually going to be doing a podcast here pretty soon, which I'm pumped for. 2 San Diego legends doing a podcast together will be incredible to listen to. But here, Uncle Teddy talking about that moment, that play, that night. Here's Teddy.
That clip of Lamont Butler, for the first time in my life, I gave myself goosebumps.
Ted, I'll be honest.
I've never been able to do that. I've thought of it. I've wanted it, but I just had it. And I thank you all so much. The greatest moment in Aztec history, not basketball, but anything. And the best part was for me at that age and eyesight, going and almost gone, as Mel Allen used to say, they put television right in the center court. This is a huge football stadium, NRG in Houston. So they put the visiting radio, as they call it, way to one end. I mean, down by the free throw line at one end.
Yeah.
So you're looking down the other way. It's like the game's a rumor. You know, look at this. Oh my God! I smell perspiration. I hear sneakers squeaking, squeak, but I can't see anything. But Lamont's right in front of me on my end.
Unreal.
On my end, comes across the midcourt line and right in front of me, goes baseline, comes back, and you know who was guarding him? Of course, was Nick Boyd.
Yeah.
Who then became an Aztec after that, and then went on to Wisconsin. Had a great year. I'm so glad, and made a lot of money. Nick made a lot of money.
Oh, man.
Over well over $1 million for that 1 year at Wisconsin.
That's crazy.
And then they had the big speed bump at the NCAA's. But that was the most historic moment, and I'm so pleased I was there. I'd never been to a Final Four. Jim, you've been to a Final Four? No. I've only been to that one. The rest has been all television.
Yeah, I remember being at Viejas watching that game. That was crazy. I'm just sitting up top and everyone rushed the floor. It was, yeah. I mean, we were talking with Alan yesterday. Like, is that the greatest sports moment in San Diego history?
That's it for me. I mean, I'd be hard pressed to find another one that's even close.
Right. Tony Gwynn's 3,000th hit.
Sure.
Huge moment.
I would say Tony Gwynn's Hall of Fame induction.
Right.
I would say
the Chargers going to the Super Bowl, but then they got smacked in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, there's an AFC championship game from, was that 82, the Freezer Bowl, where the game was like negative 59 degrees, but they got their asses kicked in that game to the Bengals. Actually, that was Chris Collinsworth's Bengals team that went to the Super Bowl with Boomer Esiason. But when you think about it, like, has there ever been that successful a moment on the biggest stage in San Diego sports history? I would venture to say no. And like not far behind it is JJ Spawn last year, but he was an Aztec for life. He wasn't doing it for San Diego sports. So I don't know. It'd be hard
at the Open.
Yeah, it'd be hard pressed for me to find a better pure moment. Like Jake Cronenworth's hit comes next to mind in the Dodgers series. But outside of that, I don't know what gets
tough
close.
Because that moment when Cronenworth got the hit over the Dodgers, it's like you had slayed the Dragon at the time. But then I guess it's kind of hard because then the Aztecs put up a great fight against UConn, but they lost. But
but that is the biggest win in San Diego sports history.
Right. It's hard. It's hard because it's like the Cronenworth hit, you beat the Dodgers, then you lose. Then it was really disappointing because they were favored to beat the Phillies and then lose. The Chargers had so many great teams and players, but I'm trying to there's not a single Charger moment that's coming to my head that's above that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's San Diego Sports 760. Coming up next, we got Coach Kentera. We could ask him that same question. I'm sure Coach has 50 moments that he can think of where Sammy and I are just trying to come up with a few here. But it is San Diego Sports 760. Coach Kentera on his weekly appearance. Coming up next, live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, the sport's sponsored by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Lakers, Thunder tonight. Lake Show taking on the defending champs. Thunder open as 6.5-point favorites, been bet all the way up to 9.5. Hear that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. Lakers currently in that 3 spot in the Western Conference. Kirk Cousins signs a contract to go to the Raiders, essentially a 1-year, $20 million deal. He could be the starting quarterback come week 1, even when Fernando Mendoza is picked. And Puka Nacua, per his attorney, has checked into a rehab center as of a couple weeks ago. For victims of drunk and drug driving, your grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
San Diego Sports 760. Ben Fletcher, Sammy Long with you till 2 o'clock. It's the Zone with Fletch and Sammy. We're on till 2. Sammy's going to keep going with Going Long with Sammy right after that for an hour. Schaefer and Sliwa coming up next. The brand new lineup here on 760. I just got DM'd this. The Padres put out like a hype video teasing the launching of the new City Connect jerseys coming up on April 9th. Which is funny because they don't show anything in the video, and Kevin Acey's literally already put out the new jerseys. We already know what they are, but it's a cool hype video, I guess. All right, we got Coach Kentera on the line, joining us for his weekly appointment. Coach, how are you, my friend?
Fletch, doing well. Great to be with you and Sammy. And I got to congratulate the station on the hiring of Alan Sliwa earlier this week. Good hire, bring a lot to the station. I'm a big fan, and you guys continue to keep that station going in the right direction. So congratulations to everyone.
Yeah, we said it a million times this week. Our station got a lot stronger with bringing Alan on, and I'm pumped for him. We had him on the show yesterday. Alan's a great dude. If you've never heard him before, he is a San Diegan through and through, man, and he's pumped for this opportunity, and we're pumped to have him. So thank you, Coach, for those kind words. I'll pass them along to Alan. And let's talk about those Padres, Coach. So a little bit of a disappointing start, although the offense came to life, I guess, a little bit yesterday. A lot of it coming late in the game and coming off of errors from the Giants. But good to see the Padres bats get going a little bit yesterday, yeah?
Well, they got going a little bit. I thought Aaron Hauser threw a pretty good ball game, actually, for the Giants. He gave up that one run that, probably shouldn't have been a run. Casey Schmidt, a guy that I know very well playing first base, a kid from Eastlake High School that I got a real good relationship with. He had a rough day yesterday, and they gave Machado a hit on that. Heck, if Casey catches the ball, Machado's out by 2 steps. I was a little surprised they gave him a hit on that, and then they didn't give, I think it was Bogarts later on that high ball. I thought maybe that would have been a hit, but nonetheless, Casey had a rough day at first base, and Padres, Sheets ran into a couple of doubles yesterday, and they showed signs of having a heartbeat, but overall, not playing a lot of inspired baseball early on. I'm really surprised. You got 6 games right out of the gate at home, and they really didn't play with a whole lot of fire, I didn't see. And I don't know what the problem is, but they better get fixing it here very quickly because Boston's off to a slow start. But you're playing Boston in Boston, never an easy task. Then you go and you got a team in the Pittsburgh Pirates that people think could actually be a playoff team this year. So they better have a good road trip. If not, they're going to be coming back well under 500.
Coach, what are your thoughts on Craig Stammen as his first week as the manager?
Well, I think it's too early to tell, but, I think Craig's trying to give his pitchers a little bit of a leash to see who can get the job done, who can't get the job done. He's still developing his personality as a major league manager, maybe a little bit too laid back for me, but everybody's got to manage their ball club the way they feel comfortable and what their personality is. But, I'm seeing a lack of fire from a lot of those players right now. And, maybe the manager needs to show a little bit more life as well.
All right, Coach, I'm going to try to leave this as open-ended as possible so you don't get what I think about it on this front. But Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado, what have you seen from them, not necessarily in their games, but just how they've been as a Padre so far this year?
I think Fernando's been okay. He hit that one ball yesterday. It was a deep fly ball. He got the barrel hit through the hitting area pretty good. But, for the most part, he's been hitting the ball the other way. Manny, on the other hand, he hadn't done a whole lot for me. I mean, I know he got 2 hits yesterday. That one was a gift hit by the official scorer, but, not driving the ball, off balance at the plate. not playing with a lot of fire. But that's kind of who Manny is. But I'll tell you this: we can talk about Tatis until we're blue in the face, but I think every day kind of how the Padres are going to go on how Manny performs on the field, but also what kind of attitude he shows up within the clubhouse. If he comes in an upbeat mood, Padres are probably going to play pretty well. If he comes in a moody mood, I think the ball club kind of plays that way. So, Machado's a real key to this ball club, and he's got to pick it up a little bit. And, at the end of the year, he'll probably hit 269 to 275, probably hit 25 to 30 homers, driving 90-plus runs. But, really, for the amount of money he's making and he's going to make in the future, you got to pick it up a little bit for me.
Coach, you were kind of you came on our show a couple weeks ago and was talking about Randy Vasquez and how he's really improved so far in spring training. What'd you make of that first start? And do you think he could be the ace of this staff?
Well, I don't know if he can be the ace of the staff, but I'll tell you what, he looked awful good that first time out. He'll get another start here coming up in Boston, and, you got to deal with that left field wall out there. That could be a little bit intimidating. But, the thing that surprised me, Sammy, is that, he struck out 8 the other day, and he was throwing the ball by people a lot like he did during spring training. I've been a big Randy Vasquez fan, even when he first came to the Padres, before we ever saw him pitch in a Padre uniform. I saw him pitch the year prior against the Padres at Petco Park, and he went, I think he went into the 5th inning. He couldn't get out of the 5th inning, but I kind of like what he brought to the table. The Padres brought him over, and, he's kind of been a guy in and out of the rotation there early on, but he's gotten better. He got a whole lot better from year 1, 2 years ago to last year, and it looks like he's taken his game to another level. And, you can give Ruben Niebla credit. You can give Yu Darvish, who's worked with him and developed a great relationship with him. But at the end of the day, Randy's the guy out there throwing the baseball, and he's obviously put in a lot of work to build up his strength, his stamina, and he's become, I think, more of a complete pitcher now. So I'm excited about what he brings to the table.
You could see it in his body too. He clearly put in some work this last offseason to get in better shape for this season, and it's paid off. I could use the Randy Vasquez routine, whatever he's doing in the weight room, because he looks good. All right, Coach, before we let you go, I do want your thoughts on this Joe Musgrove situation. So we find out he's going to be settled down in training camp, which they swore to us was part of the plan all along, I guess. And so he's going to start the season on the IL. We talked to Kevin earlier this week, and he kind of just throws out there nonchalantly that, it's probably going to be May and not the beginning of May either that we see Joe Musgrove for the first time. This is very on brand for the Padres to do, but what do you think's going on with Joe Musgrove, and are we going to see him be a part of this team this year?
Well, I certainly hope so. And, I had gotten a report a little over 2 weeks ago that, structurally everything was fine. There wasn't anything new that popped up. I think, he was so geared up to throw that first game on March 4th against that Great Britain team. And, he'd been throwing on the backfield, simulated games, throwing bullpens, but it's a different animal. And, I know some people pointed out to me a couple of days ago, well, they probably had him throw too much that first time out. He was all amped up. He was, adrenaline pumping through his body. I don't know. At the end of the day, he's obviously not completely healthy, but I have been told that it is something new didn't pop up. It just may take a little bit longer. I am a little surprised that they're talking about, May. I thought it'd be a couple of weeks and he'd get back throwing. So, who knows? I mean, I feel pretty confident in what I was told, but again, you never know with the guy's arm that something else may have popped up. Who knows? But they did do an MRI and everything came back pretty positive.
Coach, one Laker question for how you feeling about our Lakers tonight taking on Oklahoma City in the last month of play? You think they got a shot here in the Western Conference?
Well, yeah, I think they have a shot. Heck, when's the last time the Lakers went 15-2 in a month, let alone late in the season in March? I mean, they're playing great basketball right now, and hopefully, I look at this game tonight, Sammy. I want to not overplay it. But I got to be honest with you. I really want to see the Lakers win this tonight. I want them to secure that third spot in the West. But I want them to make a statement to the entire NBA tonight because I still think there's some non-believers out there. You go in there and smack OKC in their home arena tonight, that'll definitely be a shot across the bow for the rest of the NBA if the Lakers are for real.
Coach, pleasure as always. And maybe LeBron James, he's out there playing YouTube golf now. So I don't know if he's all the way focused on the season, but if we want to go Steve Hartman hot take style on it, LeBron, what are you doing? Golfing when your team's in a playoff push? Come on, LeBron. What are we doing? It's actually LeBron's the most likable he's ever been.
Be a good one tonight. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coach, for your time.
All right, gentlemen, have a great day.
Coach Kentera joining us like he does every single week. Always appreciate his insight on the Padres and the Lakers. It's San Diego Sports 760. We got long shots on the other side. Time for Sammy to make us all some money. That's next here on San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. The Final Four is coming up on Saturday in the NCAA tournament, and you can hear it right here on San Diego Sports 760. Pregame coverage is going to be beginning at noon, and in fact, the man who is going to be on that pregame coverage, Jason Horowitz, is going to be joining us coming up at 1:30 today. Can't wait for that. Jason's also the play-by-play voice of the Las Vegas Raiders. Those games you hear here on 760 as well. All right, last night, Tyler Herro just doesn't come through. It was so close.
We were so close
And
to a 3-0.
It stinks when things are going well early in the day and you're like hoping and hoping and hoping. And then the night game is the one that screws you.
Yeah, Fletch texted me because the Yankees came through.
Well, and I had added a bunch of stuff to long shots.
You had added the Padres?
Well, I just kept seeing things that I liked. And so I kept clicking buttons and we were perfect leading all the way up to the Heat.
I had the under on the Atlanta game, but you also took Atlanta on the spread.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, first off, Miami, we forgot how to play defense. I mean, we're letting Jaylen Brown go for 53. It just, I mean, or not 53.
Everything was going way too well, and then it just didn't at the very end. So, unfortunately, it was a loser last night, but that doesn't mean anything about today. That doesn't mean anything about what goes down on Thursday, April the 2nd, a day that shall henceforth be known in the histories of the world. Hell, they may even come out with the Bible too. We've been waiting for that sequel for a long time, called Sammy's Long Shots, because he has come down to save us. With Easter coming up, it's time for some Save Your Long Shots.
You looking for some luck? Want to win big? Gotta play big.
You are so money, and you don't even know it.
Time to take a chance
Pay that man his money.
with Long Shots.
There's like expectations on this now. We just made this thing biblical. We have foreseen it.
That was called stalling, ladies and gentlemen, because
Sammy put up the figure that's like, hey, give me 10 seconds. And somehow I went straight to Bible at Easter Sunday. So here we go.
Save your long shots. I really like that.
Well, sometimes, it's we were doomed and now we're going to be saved.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay.
It actually works better than I thought it would.
Timberwolves Pistons tonight. So injury report now. Pistons still without Kate Cunningham, Isaiah Stewart. Kate Cunningham, obviously one of the would be one of the top guys in the MVP race had he not gotten hurt a couple weeks ago with the collapsed lung. Isaiah Stewart, a fantastic defender. Now, Anthony Edwards, a game time decision tonight. We're staying away from the spread either way because obviously if Anthony Edwards plays, that completely shifts where we would go with this. Under 223.5.
Unders.
These are two of the best defensive teams in the NBA. I mean, the Pistons, it's impressive. Like what they've been able to do without Kate Cunningham and Isaiah Stewart. I mean, Asar Thompson and Jalen Duren, like up and down the lineup. Dennis Jenkins has really become a breakout star the last couple weeks. And then on the Minnesota side of things, they have an excellent front court. Rudy Gobert's numbers have been down a little bit this year, but Naz Reid has really taken on that role of a franchise center. We'll see if Anthony Edwards is a go. Even if he is, this is going to be a highly contested game. Minnesota is battling with Houston, Denver, and then trying to catch the Lakers for that 3 spot. They need the game. And then the 1 seed in the East, the Pistons, they should be good, but they're trying to hold off Boston. So Boston doesn't get that number 1 seed. Again, final 2 weeks of the season here, we can get some real value on what teams need what. This is going to be a defensive slugfest under 223.5. All right, Cavs Warriors. This is a big spread. Now, I know this typically goes against what we do because you like home dogs, and we have had success with home dogs. We're hammering Cleveland minus 9.5 tonight. Hammering Cleveland. Cleveland came off getting embarrassed by the Lakers the other night. Donovan Mitchell had single digits in the first half. Very odd showing from the Cavs. I mean, Mitchell couldn't get it going. I don't expect that to happen again. Harden got it going a little bit later in the game. The fourth quarter, the comeback actually was with all the backups. When a team gets embarrassed like that, they're going to come back with a vengeance. And last night, the Warriors got beat bad by San Antonio, but the Warriors still don't have anyone. I mean, Steph Curry is still out for this game. Santos' game time decision. D'Anthony Melton's a game time decision. Al Horford is out. Quentin Post's a game time decision. They have so many injuries with the Warriors. I don't even care if they all play. They don't have enough scores to stay with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah, but they got the old white dude with the mustache.
What?
The Warriors.
Pat Spencer?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Pat Spencer is not giving Donovan Mitchell buckets. Now, before the Cavs, before they played the Lakers, were 14-4 with James Harden, averaging about 120 points per game. I expect him to get back to those winning ways. Hammer the Cavs big tonight, minus 9.5.
You know that dude drives like a Honda Civic or something?
Who?
Pat Spencer.
Well, yeah, he's making no money.
He's an NBA player. He's making a little bit of money.
I believe he got a 2-year contract. No,
he shows up to like you got everyone driving Range Rovers and big ass G-Wagons.
I would be such a bad, like if I signed an NBA contract,
Rari
immediately, my hand would still be warm from the pen of the contract.
Just wait till you get your big fat contract here at iHeart.
Yeah, iHeart and Rari, red and red. Looks good. Now we go to the game of the night, Lakers Thunder. Now, this is a really fun matchup just from a basketball perspective because you have the Lakers
9.5 point spread, dog.
The Lakers are trying to prove that they belong. Now, the Lakers have beaten over the last couple of weeks, Houston twice, Denver, Minnesota, the Cavs, Orlando, Miami, all the teams in the middle of the pack in the West and Eastern Conference. they have proven they're better than. What we haven't seen is them do it against the Oklahoma City Thunder, the San Antonio Spurs. They had one win earlier this year against them, or the Detroit Pistons. Now, so this is a huge game. The Lakers are trying to prove they belong tonight. And by the way, the Thunder, who while the Lakers went 15-2 in the month of March, the Thunder went 14-1. So they're right on par. They're playing excellent basketball. Now, this spread opened as the Thunder favored by 6.5. It has been bet up in the last 24 hours to 9.5. When we look back at the first two games this season, the first game, the Lakers got absolutely pummeled by 29 points. In the second matchup, the Lakers lost by 9. The dirty secret, though, in both of those matchups, neither team was fully healthy. In the last matchup where the Lakers lost 119-110, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander didn't play. Luka Doncic didn't play. Austin Reeves was coming off an injury. He did play 29 minutes in that game, but he came off the bench. In the first game this season, Jalen Williams didn't play. LeBron didn't play. So we're going to look back for last year for some data when the big three were together. The Lakers and Thunder played a 2-game slate at the end of the season at the end of last year. The Lakers blew the Thunder out by 30. In the second game, the Lakers came all the way back, took a 107-106 lead. Luka turns around, says something to a fan, gets thrown out of the game, and the Thunder end up winning by 12. It's a long-winded way of saying we don't really know how these two teams match up because we haven't really seen them both healthy. Give me the Los Angeles Lakers plus 9.5. This is way too big of a number. I don't know if they win tonight. I think they're going to show up, though. Plus 9.5 is way too big of a number. They need the game more than the Thunder do. And 9.5 points for a team that can score like the Lakers are and have been playing excellent defense and just shut down, even without Marcus Smart, one of the best offenses in the league in the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't know they win tonight, but 9.5 is way too big of a number. That's why Vegas opened it at 6.5 and the public has moved it 3 points. That tells you they're liable on the Lakers side of things. Give us the Lakers plus 9.5 tonight. They're going to cover the spread.
All right, we're going to trail it. We're going to have faith in Sammy, but I do want to know on the text line and the YouTube chat if you're comfortable with Sammy taking the Lakers here, because I don't know how comfortable I am.
I feel good about tonight.
I'm sure you do.
I may eat words tomorrow, but some tells me that Luka, Shai,
we don't know how
race,
good you've been betting the Lakers this year.
I hit my last 2 bets when I bet the Lakers on long shots.
I'm telling you, we're having faith in Sammy. I just don't know how I feel about it.
I save my Lakers picks for when it matters.
Yeah, like every game. Every time.
Plus 9.5. I'm telling you, the value here is too good to pass up. So, Cavs, minus 9.5. Going to beat the crap out of the Warriors tonight. Give me the Pistons and the Timberwolves under. Defensive slugfest under 223.5. And the Lake Show, plus 9.5. Going into Oklahoma City, covering the spread and maybe, just maybe, getting a win.
All right, there it is. That's long shots for today. Save your long shots. Biblical proportions.
Biblical proportions. I can't wait to see the text line after we brought the Bible into this.
Well, I mean, it's Easter week, so might as well, right? All right, it's San Diego Sports 760. We got hour 2 coming up next. Jason Horowitz is going to be jumping on the show. He is the studio voice of March Madness for Westwood One. He's also the voice of the Las Vegas Raiders. Can't wait to chat with Jason. That's coming up at 1:30. Those Charlie Puth tickets will be on the line within the next 30 minutes, so don't go anywhere. It's San Diego Sports 760. You're listening live on the iHeart Radio app.
All right. This report is sponsored by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Lakers taking on the Thunder tonight at 6:30. Hear that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. Oklahoma City open as a 6.5 point favorite, has now been bet up to 9.5. Big news out of the NFL. Kirk Cousins going to Las Vegas to mentor the projected number 1 overall pick and Fernando Mendoza, and Rams receiver Puka Nacua is in rehab per his attorney. Plus, ex-Steelers safety Kyle Duggar signs with the Cincinnati Bengals. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more at crohnscolitisfoundation.org.
It's hour number 2 here on San Diego Sports 760. It's The Zone. Ben Fletcher, Sammy Long with you till 2 o'clock. Sammy is going to keep it going then from 2 to 3 with Going Long. And then Schaefer and Sliwa, our brand new afternoon drive show with John Schaefer and Alan Sliwa, will take you home on your drive. Can't wait for that, man. It's been fun listening to their first few days of action here on San Diego Sports 760. You know, sometimes something's out there and you purposefully avoid looking at it. Mm-hmm. That's been me all day so far with the Tiger body cam footage. I finally saw it. It's a rough watch, man. If you don't even have to look that hard. If you just scroll through social media, you'll probably be able to see Tiger's body cam footage. But it's weird seeing him like on one knee in that moment where we all know what you're talking about. Like mom catches you drinking when you're a little too young and she's like, "What's going on?" And you're like, "Nothing. I'm fine. I'm cool. Don't worry about it. Everything's calm."
Are you speaking from personal experience?
Maybe. But like we all know that moment where you've been caught, you're guilty, and you're just trying to play it off. Like that is what Tiger Woods is doing. And it hurts, man. It hurts you deep in your brain. But understanding like it was a dumb decision for him to make to get behind the wheel of a car in that situation. Like it's no one's fault but his own. But it's weird when you're like such a fan of something, such an icon in a sport, and you're just watching that video and you're like, gosh, dang it, dude, make better decisions. You're 50 something. Come on.
It's hard. Like I know we got into this a little bit yesterday, but it's just hard when you see legends of whatever sport they play, a shell of themselves.
Have you seen the video?
I didn't. I scrolled past it. I didn't watch it.
It's rough, man. It's tough to watch.
It's like we don't want to remember now. Tiger, obviously, to say one thing for Tiger has a level of, and this doesn't excuse any of this. So I don't want to driving inebriated behind a car and all the stuff that's going on with Tiger. But Tiger has reached a level of fame that very few people have ever reached. I mean, Tiger's up there with your Michael Jordans, your LeBrons, your guys, your Tom Brady's, who are obviously household names. Non-golf fans, everyone knows who Tiger Woods is. My grandma knows who Tiger Woods is, and she won't be tuning into the Masters in 2 weeks. But it's like
you should really get grandma to watch the Masters.
I try to get all the family to watch it.
It's a big thing.
The extended family, yeah, we got to get them into the Masters. But like it's sad that we see these guys, and we all know that Tiger's so amazing at golf, and maybe the best golfer ever. But it's also like a stark reminder when you look at the body cam footage and you kind of hear him. It's like they're people too, and it's like it's when it's so magnified on a scale. It's just disappointing. It's like why doesn't he have a driver? He has all the money in the world to have a driver. This has happened multiple times before, and it's like the golf career certainly needs to be on the back burner right now.
Tiger, talking to you. You don't even have to pay me that much. I will move my entire life to Florida and be your driver. I'm pretty good at it. I don't have an accident on my record. Never even gotten a speeding ticket. Tiger. Knock on wood. Just bought a new truck. I'm yours.
Tiger's not driving around in an F-150.
He should. Probably be better for him. Goodness gracious. A little safer, Tiger. Thank God he didn't kill someone with this, but geez, that video is hard to watch. If you've scrolled past it today, I would just keep scrolling past it because it is totally that moment where it's like you're guilty, you're caught, and you're trying to talk your way out of it and it's not working. All right, on to more fun things. You talk about the moon launch, baby. It was successful.
Yeah.
Hey-o. The only thing that's gone wrong so far is the fan in the bathroom on the Artemis 2 stopped working. And the person who's complained about it is the one lady on board because the dudes are all stinking up the bathroom, I guess. But if there was one thing to not work right on the Artemis 2, the shuttle that's up in space right now, the rocket that we have launched from Earth into space that's careening towards the moon right now, if there was one thing that you'd be okay with breaking, it's probably the bathroom fan.
But that could be the worst thing too.
I disagree. The worst thing to break would be the, I don't know, computer that gets you home.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm talking about non-safety related things.
Right.
Like by the way, and maybe this is probably on me because I was watching in the news pit out here in Kogo yesterday. Sure. They were giving me the lowdown on what was happening. I didn't know that before a launch, they had to give a go at NASA. Everyone had to go around a room and they had to vote yes or no.
Yeah.
So like you could have spent all this money on this rocket
and then had some dude named Doug say, nah.
Doug's like, I'm not feeling it today, boys.
Yeah.
You're not going up.
But how about the thousands of gallons of water that have to get dumped before they even hit the launch? It's a crazy thing, man, that humans have somehow figured out how to do. Thank goodness there's people on this earth smarter than me.
Yeah. Isn't there a what's the thing that comes off the rocket that they dump?
Are you talking about the thing that falls back into the ocean?
Yeah, isn't it falling in San Diego, like in the ocean?
It's gonna fall in the ocean. I don't think they know exactly where it's gonna fall, but when they launch, yeah, part of it is gonna drop off and fall into the ocean, never to be seen again, taken by the currents.
You think they were listening to radio on their way up there? They're listening to Little Fletch and Sammy middays.
Maybe they could catch it.
Maybe the
760 signal is a boomer, dude. It can fly off the coast.
They were
especially once it starts bouncing on the water. Those AM waves, man, they will fly all the way to. I swear to God, to like the Netherlands sometimes.
They were like, I got to hear Fletch and Sammy argue about Josh Allen.
Yeah.
They're like, they got to do it while they're on their way up to the moon.
It's important. It really is. All right, we're going to get to the big three here. Jason Horowitz is going to be jumping on the show in just a little bit to talk to us about the Final Four. I think it's a fantastic Final Four, man. I know people have UConn beating Illinois. I do not. We'll make official picks tomorrow, but I can't wait to chat with Jason about it. And
I think you just made an official pick.
No, I still have time to change my mind. I do think Illinois is going to win that game as of right now, but Arizona, Michigan is going to be an incredible game. I'm stealing all of Sammy's family's money, which is always good news. But right now, we will hit Sammy's big three, where he rips through the top stories in the world of sports. Sammy, smash.
Your lunch break is here. Ready to go back to the office and knock the socks off your friends? I mean, coworkers? It's time for the top stories of the day. The Big Three.
Our buddy Fridge Watcher on YouTube saying, did you see the path they took to the moon? It looks like MapQuest printed out the directions. It really does. It's crazy. Like the 3D printed, or not 3D printed, the 3D version of the map they took around the moon is wild because they had to time up the launch with how the moon was going. And it's like they're trying to catch the moon more than they're trying to go to the moon. They're just catching it in its orbit. It's fascinating to watch all this stuff, man. It's the first time I've been like legitimately excited about world events in a long time. So pretty cool to see. And I think
it was someone like it was a thing that regardless of whether you fall in the aisle, it was like something we could all get excited about.
Yeah, it's just something that's cool. Like we're doing a cool thing. And I don't care they spent $4 billion on the thing. That's where I want more of my tax money to go. Can I like sign up?
If we're paying $4 billion though, again, land on the moon.
All right, well, $4 billion hardly even scratches anything and when it comes to like national debt or anything. So I don't think $4 billion is really what they're hung up about.
I do wonder, like $4 billion to just get some nice photos, you know?
No, dude, it's $4 billion to plan the next step. Like, what if we need that station on the moon to launch things to Mars because I don't know, Earth isn't habitable anymore?
Fletch and I are launching our new show on Kogo after Lou Penrose.
Oh yeah, baby, Moon Talk
with Fletch and Sammy
24/7.
Dude. We gotta get Lou.
All right, Sammy, where are we going?
That could be a problem, actually.
Us and Lou Penrose? It just devolved into me and Lou talking 49ers. That's what happens every time I get in a conversation with Lou Penrose.
Okay. All right. Puka, on a serious note. Stop laughing, Ben. Seriously.
I can keep laughing.
Puka Nacua.
On the rundown, you put Puka Nacua. Like, are we being so for real right now? Puka Nacua is what's on the rundown today?
Okay. Before we compose, I was on the way in today and I was vocal recording some thoughts for the rundown. And I just opened it. It says Hookah Nakula.
Oh, it's a great joke. You should have just taken credit for it. Why'd you Craig Stamina and give all the credit to something else?
Because I'm a team player, Fletch.
Gotcha.
Give it up. Give the ball up. All right. Well, Puka Nacua, on a serious note, his attorney checked him into a rehab. Now, Puka has definitely had some comments the last few months on some live streams, some things that have been not Puka Nacua-like because we've never heard too much from him. But the question is this. It's like the Seahawks lose Kenneth Walker. Tariq Woolen had some losses despite the Super Bowl. Now you have Puka Nacua. Hopefully, we're wishing him nothing but the best coming out of rehab. But it does put a concern if you're the Rams. Like, is this the problem with spending all your draft picks to acquire certain players? Because the Rams went all in to win this year, And again, we're wishing Puka Nacua nothing but the best. Hopefully he's ready for week 1 and gets his life back on track. But like, is this a mistake that they went all in on all these picks, and now we're hearing things about Puka Nacua and Matthew Stafford's getting up there in age?
I would say this is definitely troubling with Puka Nacua, but I would pump the brakes on like he's done forever. No, he's going to be fine for the start of the regular season. The thing with Puka Nacua right now, if like I haven't seen this anywhere, but this is what I imagine is happening behind the scenes. And I know people don't often come to me for my wisdom, but here's some wisdom on the Puka Nacua thing. Puka Nacua's agent is telling him, dude, check yourself into rehab now because the ruling is about to come down on this lawsuit from the lady who's saying he bit her and also was throwing out some anti-Semitic slurs. And so they're saying, all right, this is about to all come out in the press. It would be better if you were already taking proactive steps by going to rehab, just publicity wise. So I think that's why Puka is in this situation. They also said in the article, it's like, yeah, he'll be out and ready to go for week 1 of the NFL season. He'll be back by training camp. This feels very much to me like a PR stunt more than anything that Puka is checking into rehab. Here's what I'll say. I hope he takes it seriously because goodness gracious, does this not kind of feel like Antonio Brown 2.0? And we all know how that ended, and it wasn't good. Antonio Brown walking off the Buccaneers field. Actually, I think it was the Jets field while he was a Buck, shirtless, flipping off the crowd. I don't want that to see that happen to Puka Nacua. I want Puka Nacua to play for the next 4 or 5 years, get a big contract, go play overseas basketball like he's always said he wants to do. So for Puka Nacua, man, talk about one of the biggest rising stars in the NFL, not even rising anymore. He just is a star. This has been a troubling offseason. And I would say some time away from cameras, some time trying to get your life together a little bit would be good. And I would tell the Rams, you should probably go get Max Crosby to come in and be a good influence on Puka Nacua because a guy like Crosby's been through all of this. He can kind of tell you the direction to go. But this is definitely a rough look for Puka and the Rams, who, by the way, Puka is eligible for an extension now. Like, he should be getting the same deal that JSN just got for the Rams. You just gave the Rams all the ammo they need to not give you that deal this offseason.
We have assumed that this division is just going to be great like it was last year.
I mean, one of the teams is going to be.
Okay, I was going to get to that in a minute.
One of the teams is going to be.
God. It is amazing, though. So, like, again, I piggyback on everything you said. Hope Puka Nacua is all right. Hope he's back there and gets his life turned around. It's. I don't know that we've seen, though, in a draft in recent years where free agency decisions and off-field decisions are completely dictating where the draft is going. Like, the Chiefs get Kenneth Walker from the Seahawks. The Saints pick up Etienne from the Jags. So that basically told us that Jeremiah Love, running back from Notre Dame, is going top 5. A lot of people think the Titans at 4. Now, if you're the Rams, because you are such a win-now team, you trade away your late first-round pick at 29 to the Chiefs. You get Trent McDuffie, superstar corner. You go out and sign Jalen Watson. This team is loaded for bear. It might be the most talented roster in the league. But it's an odd week for the Rams considering they must have known about this before we all knew about it. If we remember on Monday, Sean McVay's talking about how he was open with Devontae Adams about the fact that they were looking to trade him. It makes the Rams have to pick a receiver at 13, whether that's Mekhi Lemon out of SC, Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State, or Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. It's really now the Rams are desperate, and because they don't have a lot of draft picks to have ammo to go up outside of that 13th pick, like they need a receiver because you don't know what's going to happen with Puka Nacua. And Devontae Adams being the number 1 on a team is not, I don't think at this point in Devontae Adams' career, a Super Bowl winning team. So I will give credit to your Niners. Makes me sick. But the Seahawks had a lot of losses. Kenneth Walker, Tariq Woolen. I do think they're still going to be a very good team. The Rams, we'll see what happens to Puka Nacua. Matthew Stafford getting up there in age. I do give your Niners some credit for going all in with Mike Evans and trying to actually make a dent this season.
Now just bomb the facility that you have next to your practice fields and everything will be okay. We got one more, Sammy?
So Wemby's been making his case for the MVP. He was on Scott Van Pelt last night, was talking about, Scott Van Pelt asked him, he's like, does it mean something to you? He's like, yeah, absolutely. Like, it's like what I work for. And he's been the one guy that has been campaigning. SGA said, I let my play do the talking. Luka has been like kind of deflected all those questions. That's for other people to answer. Who do you think should win MVP? And do you like Wemby being the one guy in the MVP race campaigning for the award?
For me right now, SGA is the MVP. And until further notice, like if the Lakers keep going at this pace, by the way, and Luka is still as fantastic as he's been, I think that he can still make a real late season push. Wembanyama would probably be number 3 on my list right now for MVP, behind Luka, behind SGA. But I kind of love the fact that we can get into this more on the other side, that Wemby's sort of taken like a UFC fighter or a boxer approach to basketball. And I think that this could actually bear a lot of fruit for the NBA in the very near future. Let's get into that on the other side. Jason Horowitz coming up in 15 minutes. But right now, your opportunity to win some Charlie Puth tickets, baby. Charlie Puth at Viejas Arena coming up on April 22nd. Tickets and info at Ticketmaster.com. If you would like to win some Charlie Puth tickets, now is your time to call 877-767-4760. Victor Wembanyama bringing a WWE approach to the NBA. Good for the league. We'll talk about it on the other side at San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app. SDFC back in action Saturday night. They got a road test taking on San Jose. Our pregame coverage will begin at 7:00 right here on your home for SDFC San Diego Sports 760. Darren Smith, Adrian Garcia Marquez on the call of that one between SDFC and San Jose. Been a little while since we've seen SDFC in action. Excited to see them get back going coming up on Saturday night after the Final Four. All right, we got a lot. We got a busy week here in sports. The weekend coming up, we got the Final Four, SDFC. You'll hear all of that here on 760. Next week, starting on Thursday, a tradition like no other. Jim Nance will be on the call as the Masters get underway. If you missed it yesterday, my early pick, while you can still get some odds on him, Jon Rahm winning the Masters this year. Book it. End of discussion. The Spaniard is taking home the green jacket here once again.
I'm surprised you're not going with your boy Koepka.
I mean, I like Brooks. He's just not playing great golf right now. So Jon Rahm is playing spectacular golf right now for the first time in like 4 or 5 years. I think Rahm has been gearing up specifically for the Masters this year to get his name back in that conversation of being the best golfer in the world. No better place to show it than at Augusta. Rory, not even, I think Rory misses the cut this year. Wow. That's another hot take. That's probably going to be false, but I think Rory's been running
he's
that
like
high.
He's like the second odds on favorite to win the tournament.
I know. And you could probably get pretty good odds for him missing the cut. I don't know exactly where to bet that, but I bet you it's pretty good odds. But I think
why do you think Rory's going to miss the cut?
Oh, I think he chokes out bad because now it's like he got it done last year. He's going to walk in with that little Rory, when he moves his chest a lot when he walks, and he's going to get up there, shank the first tee shot, miss the cut.
Last year was so amazing because you had at the Masters, like, obviously the Rory story, I think everyone was pulling for him. I mean, you just saw when he was on Sunday. Then you had DeChambeau. He was 2 back of Rory going into Sunday.
As of Saturday, I thought DeChambeau was winning it.
And then DeChambeau plays terrible in the front nine on Sunday. Scotty makes a late charge. Justin Rose. I mean, it was just the entire top leaderboard was stars. And then when you thought Rory had it, he misses the putt. You go to the playoff. I mean, when the Masters is great in general, and then when you have the big names up there on Sunday, there's very few things greater.
Oddly enough, I'm actually kind of glad Tiger's going to be completely out of the discussion by Thursday, because I think this is such a great field for the Masters this year with the top guys playing as good as golf if they've played in a few years. He would have taken over the headlines of the first couple of days. So in a strange way, like not saying it's a good thing what just happened to Tiger.
No, I know what you're saying,
but I'm kind of glad he's going to be like. You'll see the desk is going to even clam up a little bit. Like they're not going to want to talk about Tiger at all because Kevin Kistner just got in all that trouble the other day, putting his full support behind Tiger the day after it happened while he was on the desk at a golf tournament. And the internet started coming after for him. Like, dude, he could have killed a bunch of people. Well, that's one of Tiger's closest friends and Kevin Kistner. So it's weird for him to say something so negative about him, but they were just reporting the news. So I bet you like the Masters coverage is going to just completely stay away from Tiger. And it's actually going to make for a better product. I do think that's
right, because we have so many guys at the top of this field that are great players. And obviously when you have a legend like Tiger Woods, it's going to overshadow it. But I'm with you. I'm excited for next weekend.
Yeah, we got to start cooking up some nasty little parlays for the Masters too. All right, Victor Wembanyama, kind of making it known that not only should he be in the conversation for MVP, which he is, but he's making a push to campaign for the MVP. It's almost like in 8th grade when you start running for class president. You're telling all your friends, hey, man, when that ballot comes rocking around, make sure you're putting down Ben Fletcher for class president, which I did win, by the way, in 8th grade. But
really,
I did. Yeah.
That's a wow.
Dude, it's a story for another time, but how I won was kind of ridiculous. Still not super proud of it. But Victor Wembanyama is making it known. He's like, hey, SGA, Luka Doncic, nah, it's me, Victor Wembanyama. And I do think what he's trying to do is smart. So maybe he doesn't have the numbers or the success this year that the other guys have to maybe back this up. Victor Wembanyama is great. He should be top 3 MVP. Absolutely. I don't know if he wins it this year, but I like what he's doing because like the NBA is ready for a new start. You got LeBron already seeming like he's focusing on other things. Steph Curry, if he's healthy enough to play, he's still fun. He's a draw. But the old guard of the NBA, for my money, is already out, right? But you're just hanging on to the last little threads. Like, please, LeBron, can you play a little bit longer? The new guard of the NBA is fantastic. Man, we talk about it all the time now. You got guys like Victor Wembanyama. Luka's going to be great for another 10 years. SGA is like about to reach his prime. We haven't even seen prime SGA yet. And then the younger guys, you got the Cade Cunninghams, the Anthony Edwards. Like the NBA is going to be fine in the future. We just need to get there. Victor Wembanyama is almost pressing fast forward on that a little bit by getting out there and making sure it's his name at the top of a lot of headlines on ESPN or wherever else. And I love that. He is taking a page out of like Conor McGregor's notebook.
Right. Well, I have no problem. A lot of people today had a problem with him. He was on Scott Van Pelt last night talking about how it does matter to him, and he should want the NBA MVP. I mean, in a sport, also in the NBA, where personal accolades, how much you win, how many championship appearances, finals appearances, how many rings you have, how many MVPs you have, really matter. And the NBA might have the sport with the most up in the air. You can argue who is better than who, because it is such a, do you value MVPs? Do you value rings? There's so much that goes into that.
Well, and it's like we're the best player in football. Like you can never picture Patrick Mahomes or let's throw Saquon Barkley going head to head in something. You know what I mean?
Well, we can see these guys playing both offense and defense.
And you could picture Victor Wembanyama playing 1v1 versus Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
So I have no problem with Wemby campaigning. Now, Wemby, SGA is the favorite. Wemby's right behind him. Wemby has played the least minutes of all these guys, of Jokic, Jaylen Brown, Luka, and SGA. He's averaging 24 points per game so far this season, only 3 assists. My only problem with the Wemby thing is Luka gets crushed for not playing defense. SGA gets crushed for being a, quote, foul merchant and getting the free throw line. And I mean, SGA and Luka's assist numbers blow him out of the water, not even close. And again, he's played the fewest minutes of any of these players. It's just the nature of the award of the NBA MVP is it who's most valuable to their team, or is it who's the best player? Because Luka and Jaylen Brown, you could argue, are the 2 most valuable players to their team. You take Jaylen Brown off the Celtics, you take Luka off the Lakers. The Lakers are a lottery team if Luka's not there. Like that's in SGA, they've won when he's not been on the floor. Jokic, they've won the Nuggets when he's not been on the floor. Wemby as well. So I'm not taking that away from Wemby, but it's funny how Wemby gets nothing but praise and SGA and Luka kind of get eviscerated, and we don't nitpick Wemby. Maybe it's because he's the new kid on the block, but we don't really nitpick Wemby like we do the other stars.
I agree. And we got to get out of here for Jason Horowitz, but I do just want to say one more thing. It's like the NBA MVP, any MVP used to just be very simple. It was the best player on the best team. So whatever team was going to be the number 1 seed going into the postseason, who was the best player? And then I think it changed. It had changed to get more storylines out of the NBA, which is fine if you want more storylines. But all of a sudden, it's a very different thing. And I liked it better when it was just simple. It was like, all right, who had the best record? Who was the most dominant team? Who was the most dominant player on that team? And it was just obvious. But of course, they need more things to sell more headlines and get more clicks. And that's where we're at now. Jason Horowitz, Westwood One, going to be joining us on the other side at San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.
Sport is sponsored by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Lakers taking on the Thunder tonight in Oklahoma City. Hear that game right here on San Diego Sports 760 at 6:30. The Thunder are currently 9.5 point favorites in that one. And also we can hear on San Diego Sports 760, the Final Four coverage, I believe, begins at 12 o'clock. Illinois UConn starts at 3:09. Illinois is a 1.5 point favorite in that one. And Michigan is a 1.5 point favorite over Arizona. That game gets going after the first one at 5:50. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more at crohnscolitisfoundation.org.
Coming up this Saturday, we got the Final Four here on San Diego Sports 760. You can hear Westwood One's coverage starting at noon on Saturday. And we got a pair of great games, man. Starts off with Illinois and UConn at 3:09, 5:49, Michigan and Arizona, the two remaining 1 seeds in the NCAA tournament. Maybe one of the best college basketball games in recent memory. I can't wait for these two games. And joining us right now is the studio host of Westwood One's coverage of the NCAA tournament, Jason Horowitz. Jason, how the heck are you, man? Ben Fletcher, Sammy Long. Great to get to meet you.
It's like you guys knew that I have a family of Crohn's between my brother, my dad, my mom. It was like I was built for this San Diego radio station.
Yeah, Sammy does his research, man. He had you all over Wikipedia. It's crazy that HIPAA allows for so intrusive.
Deep. Yeah, that is deep, and I probably violated a lot of things by now, just telling you that.
Well, it's great to have you on, man. You're also the voice of the Las Vegas Raiders. We carry all those games here on San Diego Sports 760. Huge Raider fan base in San Diego. So we'll get to some of the Kirk Cousins stuff in a little bit. But I do want to start, Jason, because I was listening all day, Thursday and Friday, the first 2 official days of the NCAA tournament. You guys did a great job on the broadcast, but what are those days like? It's got to be a little Scott Hansen-esque doing NFL Red Zone for you guys in the studio. What was that like?
Yeah, no, it definitely is that. The difference is, I would say the one difference is, and I've, having done this now 13 years as the host of the NCAA tournament, the difference is, when you go into an NFL weekend, the storylines for every single game being played, and the people and the players and all those things. And the difference is, I think the buildup for us on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of getting to know, frankly, a lot of teams that you've never seen, or players or storylines for a lot of those schools that you don't know. But you have to get up to date with them very quickly, or at least some familiarity with us for being in studio, because, you're going to get a High Point or, Princeton from a few years ago, or St. Peter's, that they're going to have a major storyline, and you got to at least be on some level of familiarity with those teams, their histories, and, tournament histories of years past. So it's awesome. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of reading the same sponsor over and over again. And as long as you kind of know where you are and in some control of where you're going, then we're in good shape.
Before we get to the actual Final Four, what do you make of this narrative that NIL has kind of maybe ruined the Cinderellas in college basketball? Do you think it's a fair narrative, or do you think it's a little bit overblown?
I'm not sure yet. I think it's still a little bit of time to figure it out. So there's no question that last year and this year they've had differences, right? It's the first time ever that the Sweet 16 has only had power conference teams in back-to-back years. You had more blowouts by 20 or more this year in the tournament than ever before. This Final Four has 3 teams who have won every game in the tournament by 10 points or more. That has never happened. And in fact, you got to go all the way back to the 80s to have a Final Four where 2 teams won all 4 games by 10 points or more. And yet we have 3 of them. So I do think that at the moment, it certainly appears we're heading in that direction, that it's harder and harder for the smaller schools to not only win 1 game, but certainly win 2. But I don't know yet. We've had things in tournament history where it's like, this is the first time since then. This is the first time since then. And you've had that before, and then it corrects itself. But I would say if we're another year or 2 into this and it looks the same, then yeah, I would say college basketball in the tournament has changed forever. But I would also say that, like, conference realignment and the size of the SEC, the Big 12, the Big 10, the ACC have kind of changed that as well. I don't think it's just player movement and NIL, but time will tell.
Yeah, it is wild, right? Because we never had a 16 seed beat a 1 seed, Jason. And then within what, 5 years, 2018 and 2023, we had 2 of them. And it's crazy how much this tournament changes and evolves over time. Jason Horowitz, the studio host for Westwood. I'd add a little bit more to that too. I'd add a little bit more to that too. We had NIL and transfer portal 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Obviously, it's changed a little bit. But 2 years ago, you had drastic upsets in the tournament. 2024, we had a Final Four that had San Diego State and FAU, and that's only 3 years ago. So it's not that far removed from having some surprises. But again, we have to see. Right. Jason Horowitz, the studio host for Westwood One's coverage of the NCAA tournament, joining us here today on San Diego Sports 760. Of course, you're going to hear the Final Four coming up on Saturday right here on 760. All right, Jason, going back to the first question where you were kind of Scott Hansening the first couple of rounds of the NCAA tournament. How much frantic Googling of High Point and Chase Johnston was going on in the studio behind closed doors?
A solid amount. A solid amount. Now, I'm a little biased in High Point in that, you guys all got to see Jason Benetti on TV, and he's been part of our Westwood One broadcast for a while, and he's very, famous and well known now for his work at Fox, and now he's the voice of Sunday Night Baseball on NBC. But, a little bit behind the curtain, he and I were college roommates, and his first job out of college was basketball at High Point University. And so I had a little bit of knowledge of High Point in the background because of that, and because they were in the tournament last year, and a little bit of knowledge. So it was a little less than maybe some of the others would have been. But yeah, there was a solid amount. And the other part to that is that Wisconsin always loses those games. So you kind of prep for that going in too, because nobody in tournament history has lost more 5-12 matchups as the 5 seed than Wisconsin.
Jason, when you look at this weekend in the Final Four, like obviously that unbelievable finish, UConn over Duke, everyone kind of feels it's kind of got the sense that Arizona, Michigan is the championship, but in all the sports books, all the money's coming down on UConn. How do you see this playing out? Do you think the Arizona, Michigan winner is simply going to walk through the national championship game, or do you think there's some tough opposition on the other side of the bracket?
I don't think it's just as simple as saying they're going to win. I think UConn has kind of bested the odds a bunch already. And, you can't count out what Dan Hurley has done in his time, how tirelessly he works. They were a top 5 team for most of the year as well. And so I don't think you can count them out. Plus, who knows what takes the toll out of those guys after Saturday night, and maybe there's an emotional letdown Monday night. So who knows? There's no question that Arizona and Michigan are the 2 best teams here. There's no question that they have been the most dominant teams all year. And even though Michigan lost to Duke, the 3 of those teams all year long were battling for who's the best team. And by far, the 3 of them were the best teams all year. But UConn just beat Duke. And they came back from 19 to do it. So I think it'd be silly to say that it's a guarantee that whoever comes out of the Michigan-Arizona game is going to win the whole thing. But there's no question that it is an historic matchup. You've got 2 of the top 4 teams by metrics and KenPom and all of those things in the history of this tournament. And it's only the second national semifinal ever where both teams have entered the Final Four winning by 20 points per game in the tournament. And the last one is 66 years ago. So that's how historic this Arizona-Michigan matchup is.
I think it's going to be great. I mean, I have it bookmarked as maybe one of the best college basketball games of my lifetime. I can't wait for it.
I hope so.
Oh, it's total strength on strength, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the front courts, they don't rely on the 3. The amount of points they want to score, how physical they are down low. The one difference to this too, though, is that Michigan is led by older guys and Arizona is led by younger guys. And younger guys historically in the tournament don't win the tournament. Now you've had the Kentucky, you've had the Duke, the Jahlil Okafor Duke in 2015, Kentucky with Anthony Davis and company. So what I'm saying could be wrong, but the way that they play and how similar they are, and the fact that Michigan's got so Lendeborg and Elliot Cadeau and all these older guys, it does change it a little bit, or at least feel like it does.
Yeah, Jason Horowitz on with us here. He is the studio host for NCAA tournament coverage on Westwood One, which you're going to hear coming up on Saturday, starting at noon of the Final Four. All right, Jason, you're also the play-by-play voice of the Las Vegas Raiders, and we happen to carry most of your Raider games right here on San Diego Sports 760. Tons of Raider fans in the San Diego area. I think the Chargers leaving really expedited that with more people taking on the Raiders as their team. But when you look at the Kirk Cousins move from today and some of the quotes coming out that potentially Kirk Cousins is going to get the start for the first, I don't know how long of the season. What do you think about that with Fernando Mendoza making his way to the Raiders, it would seem?
Yeah, I think it makes, first of all, it fits what the Clint Kubiak and the staff have said, which is, if possible, we'd like to not have to start a rookie right away, like to let him sit and watch. They have said all along they want to bring in a veteran quarterback, which they just did. Clint Kubiak and Kirk Cousins have been on the same team before, so there's a familiarity between those two. I believe Kubiak was his quarterback coach, and so there's a familiarity there too. And from a perspective of if you have a chance to bring in Mendoza and let him sit, or at least not have to have the pressure of knowing that you have to start him week one, I think those are all win-win situations. And the other part to that is for Kirk Cousins, when he went to Atlanta, when he signed that deal, there was no thought of I'm going there to be the backup. And then they drafted Michael Penix 6 weeks later. When he's coming to the Raiders, he knows, at least I think so, that they're drafting Fernando Mendoza. And so if he was unhappy, if he really hated every part of that in Atlanta, if life is about expectations, you come to the Raiders and you know what the expectations are, then it's a totally different feeling and you may get a different Kirk Cousins. And he definitely showed the last month and a half of this past season that he is still capable of winning football games. And so I think it's all a win-win for the Raiders. And now it's just a matter of seeing what they're going to look like.
What do you, is Max Crosby here to stay? Because it sounds like it's, per all reports, he wants to be a Raider, but with giving Fernando Mendoza maybe riding the pine for a little bit, would it make more sense to move him for some draft picks now?
I think I don't see that happening now. If the Raiders are 1-5, 2-5, 2-6, and the trade deadline comes along, right? Obviously the staff has moved him already. So they've already said they've already gotten to that point that they're willing to pull the trigger and trade Max. And he's saying all the right things. John Spytek in his first comments since the trade said all the right things. They want him back. He's happy to be back and all of that stuff. But if the Raiders are 2-6 and someone's willing to give you what the Jets got for Sauce Gardner or what the Jets got for Quinnen Williams, and you're not going to make the playoffs, and you're like, yeah, I think they'd be willing to do it again. But I don't know. I think there's every reason to feel that Max is going to have a great year, right? You get a guy who's always had great years. He's got a lot to prove. He is a man who has always been dedicated to, making himself the best version of himself he can be, at least since I've been around. And I don't see any reason why you're not going to get just an absolute terror as a defensive end in Max Crosby this year.
Looking forward to it. Jason Horowitz, he's on the call for the Raiders. He's on the call this weekend when the Final Four hits the airwaves here on San Diego Sports 760. Jason, thank you for your time, man. It was an absolute pleasure.
All right, guys, take care. Thank you.
Jason Horowitz, Westwood One coverage of the NCAA tournament. You'll hear him starting at noon on Saturday. And of course, you'll hear him throughout the Raiders football season right here on San Diego Sports 760. Ben Fletcher, Sammy Long, final break. Get you ready for Going Long with Sammy coming up next at San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app. That was a fun chat with Jason Horowitz. I really liked him.
Yeah, he was great.
You'll hear him coming up on Saturday. Studio host of Westwood One's coverage of the NCAA tournament. And you'll hear that right here on San Diego Sports 760 starting at noon on Saturday. He had some great facts, man. Fun talk about the Raiders. If you missed that Jason Horowitz interview, it'll be up on the podcast. Just search The Zone on the free iHeartRadio app a little later on today once Sammy gets it up. All right, Sammy, you got a big show coming up. You got an hour from 2 to 3. Who's going to be joining us today?
Annie Halbrun.
Annie Halbrun of the UT. She had great footage of Mason Miller's first walkout. She kind of broke that to the internet, went mega viral.
Yeah, Annie, super nice, hopping on, talking a little Padres at 2:30. If I'm curious, I always like Annie for her Padres take. She's very like measured with them, like she's very honest about the team. So I'm curious what she's feeling about the start. Like, because are we
not great?
I don't feel like it's great either, but I'm curious because we've heard some today, like online, about how, they won a game. They're like back on track. But this is a very telling weekend. Like coach said it, like this Red Sox team who has struggled to open the year, but a team that has an ace in Garrett Crochet, who the Padres will see. Roman Anthony, one of the bright young stars in baseball. I mean, on the road, like the offense has to get going.
If you were to list the reasons why you feel okay about this series and why you feel really bad about the series coming up, I think the reasons you feel okay is like, okay, you saw the Padres get a little bit of momentum yesterday with the bats. They're going to a place that's a little easier to hit for power than Petco Park is. But on the flip side of it, like the Red Sox need to get right. They've started 1-5. I would imagine they're thinking, all right, home series coming up against the Padres. This is our time to really put the foot on the pedal and get the gas going. And we'll find out who wins out because both these teams kind of need to get right, and they're both going against each other. Both these teams, by the way, with absolute playoff aspirations, if not a fan base that expects them to be in the playoffs at the beginning of the year. So this is a very, very telling weekend. And it might be a bit of a springboard either direction, by the way.
In the fact that we're going to see Crochet here in Skeens next week, it's like, because we heard the first weekend, there was a lot of excuses on Monday of, well, Valdez and Skubal, they're really good pitchers. And then Webb, the Padres kind of got to him a little bit, but not what you'd like to see. It's like you want to see the Padres explode against good pitching because the excuse can't be during the season, well, they face good pitching, because you and I were talking about if the Padres want to get to where the Padres want to get to in the postseason, they're going to be facing guys like Paul Skeens, Garrett Crochet, Logan Webb, Tarek Skubal. I know some of those are in the AL, but you're going to be facing that elite level of pitching. So I know we're 7 games in the season, but I don't want to hear excuses about the excellent pitching staffs they're facing.
All right, probably shouldn't announce this now, but it's just got confirmed within the last 20 minutes on my email, so I am going to announce it now. Coming up next Monday, very, very cool. Joining us in studio for hopefully the final 30 minutes of the show, Johnny Mansour.
Yes, sir.
How about it? Big fight with Juju Ballo coming up. Cousins, right? They're cousins?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, they're cousins who are going to be fighting each other on April 18th at Front Wave Arena. Sammy and I are going to the fight. But Johnny Mansour going to be joining us in studio for hopefully the final 30 minutes of the show on Monday. Cannot wait for that. That's going to be very, very cool to get to know him a little bit. San Diegan, pro boxer. This is going to be fun, man. April 18th is going to be a huge fight night here in San Diego.
They're both fighting on the same card. It's fun, man. It's like two San Diego guys. Ballo was a top, literally number 1 overall amateur coming out of the amateurs, and that signed a top rank. And then Mansour. I mean, like it's cool. San Diego, Southern California, all the way to the Coachella Valley at LA has always been a hotbed for fighters. So yeah, I'm excited, man. We're going to talk some boxing next week. This is right up our alley.
I'm pumped up for it, man. It's going to be fun next Monday. All right, before we get out of here, Sammy, you got your long shots pulled up?
I do. All right, we got Cavs -9.5. I think they put a beat down on the Warriors tonight. Warriors come off it'll be a second night of a back-to-back for them. Cavs coming off that brutal loss to the Lakers. I think they respond. Pistons, Timberwolves under 233.5. 2 of the elite defensive teams in the league. No Cade Cunningham and Isaiah Stewart still for the Pistons. Edwards a game time decision, but doesn't matter. Under 223.5. And I do like my Lakers. +9.5, opened as 6.5 point dogs. Public has bet them to 9.5 point dogs. I think the Lakers are going to show out tonight. I don't know if they win the game, but 9.5 is way too big of a number to be giving the Lakers in that offense.
Our guy Rich on YouTube had your back there, said, I've been hard on Sammy's Lakers picks all year, but that's a huge spread. Should be a close game. #faith in Sammy. Our buddy A-Man on the way out the door on YouTube says, loving the bumper music today, Sammy, with the old school hip hop.
Yes,
How about
sir.
a little Sir Mix-a-Lot added into the
Posse
rotation?
on Broadway. I will get you tomorrow with Posse on Broadway. Great song recommendation.
How about it? All right, we're out of here. Sammy is sticking around. He's got Going Long with Sammy coming up next, featuring Annie Heilbrunn today. Can't wait for that. And then Schaefer and Sliwa will close out our day here starting at 3 o'clock. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Sammy, we keeping this YouTube live for you?
We are keeping this YouTube live.
So if you're here now, stay here. And Sammy's going to take it over coming up next at San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, I mute myself. This report is sponsored by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. The Padres are off today. They start a weekend series in Boston tomorrow morning. It's going to be Michael King going against Sonny Gray. First pitch is set for 11:10 in the morning. The Pirates are calling up Connor Griffin, the number one prospect in all of baseball, ahead of their home opener against Baltimore tomorrow. At 19 years old, Griffin, who is expected to be the starting shortstop this season, he will be the first teenage position player to debut since Juan Soto in 2018.
And tonight we've got Lakers basketball on San Diego Sports 760 when they take on OKC. Pregame coverage begins at 6:15 and the tip will be at 6:30. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more at crohnscolitisfoundation.org.
Going long with Sammy.
That's going to be hot.
In depth on the story of the day. Plus, it's warm in the hot seat. Now, it's Sammy Long.
Welcome back to Going Long on San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. We're going to go around the world of sports today. We got Annie Halbrin joining me at 2:30 talking about Padres, what she's thinking, obviously ahead of after the start. You know, up and down so far. Nice getting the win yesterday, traveling up to Boston today, which will be a fun series because Boston is a team that has a lot of talent. Roman Anthony, going to see them against Garrett Crochet, and then taking on the Pirates next week. So talk to her at 2:30. At 2:15, 2:20, we're going to get into Kirk Cousins signing with the Las Vegas Raiders and the fact that kind of sounds like Fernando Mendoza going to be riding the pine for a little while. And send us your thoughts. Text 70470. Start your message with team. Again, 70470. Start your message with team. Do you think that's the right option? Do you think Kirk Cousins should start for the first little bit of the season for the Raiders and let Mendoza marinate, or should they just throw him out there? I got some thoughts on it coming up next. But first, we got to get to the NBA. The NBA has been fantastic so far the last couple weeks of the season. And I get a lot of people, you know, the NBA can, as a massive Laker fan, I watch every game, but I understand where some people get a little, the lack of defense at times and the long season, just like baseball, 162 games, 82 games for the NBA. But we got it. This is the fun time of year where all the playoff positioning is really kind of coming into focus. And we got Lakers and Thunder tonight on 760. So you can hear that tonight, 6:30 in a massive matchup because the Lakers are 15-2 over the month of March and have gotten a lot of praise. They've been fantastic so far. They've beaten teams like Minnesota. They've beaten the Knicks. They've beaten Denver, beaten Houston twice, both in Houston, Miami, Orlando, and then decimate the Cavs the other day. So they've beaten a lot of good playoff teams that have stars, but not a team yet that we favor to win the title. I think there's a select group of teams. I think you have the Thunder, the Spurs, the Pistons, if Cade's there. If Cade's not there, then certainly not in Boston. Those are four teams that we look at and I think are a cut above. Maybe you take the Detroit out of there because they haven't really done it before. Lost to the Knicks in 6 games last year. But then I think you get to your next tier where you have, I think the Lakers have a shot to be at the top of that. I think Denver has a shot, averaging 120 points per game. But they also lack a lot of defense. And we've kind of been waiting on Denver for the entire season. Cameron Johnson coming back, Aaron Gordon. But even with those guys back, they haven't put on some absolute clinic in terms of defensively. There's flaws. And then you go down the list, the Knicks and you know, I guess Philly to a lesser extent if they fully got healthy, the Rockets. But there's really a core group of teams in the Thunder, the Spurs, and Boston who I think are a cut above everyone else. And then you can kind of slot everyone in after that. But the Lakers tonight, because they have been 15-2 in the month of March, and the Lakers, when they're losing, get crushed. When the Lakers are winning, they get praised. Probably it's a little too polar ends. It's either they're on top of the world best team in the NBA, or they're absolutely awful for a couple game losing streak. But this game tonight is going to tell us a lot. So the Thunder open as 6.5 point favorites in this game. The public has bet the line to 9.5. Now, at a home team, you're getting 3 points. So basically what Vegas is telling us is that the Thunder are 3.5 points better than the Lakers on a neutral floor. I think that's fair. I think I've certainly given 3 to the home crowd, and the Thunder being back or looking to go back to back. I mean, they're exceptional. They're 60-16 on the season. They've dealt with injuries throughout. Jalen Williams has been out at times. SGA has been out at times. Chet Holmgren's been out at times. They're 5th in the NBA in points per game at about 119. They're 2nd in defense and opponent points per game at 107. So this is a team that just, they lock up defensively. And it's kind of the secret sauce of them. They have Alex Caruso, Cason Wallace, Lou Dort. I mean, fantastic point of attack defenders that can take your best player and just take them out of it. And then you have the big three that go to work. They also average 44 rebounds per game, so pretty good rebounding team with Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren. When we take a look back at the previous Laker Thunder matchups earlier this year, they happened twice. One, the Lakers got beat by 29. And in that game, LeBron did not play and Jalen Williams did not play. Thunder absolutely took them apart. Game wasn't even close. And the Thunder really jumped them from the get-go. In the second matchup of the season, the Thunder won 119-110. In that matchup, SGA didn't play and Luka didn't play. And Austin Reeves actually came off the bench. He didn't end up having 29 minutes, but he had just come back from injury and was on a minutes restriction, but they ended up pushing it up because they were trying to stay in the game with the Thunder. They competed in the game, but they ended up losing by 9. So I go back to last year where the Lakers actually played the Thunder twice at the end of the season for some data here, because we haven't seen both big threes against each other so far this season. Last season, the Lakers actually, in the first game they played against the Thunder with Luka, beat them by 30, destroyed Oklahoma City in OKC. And in the second matchup they played at the end of the year, the Lakers actually took a 1-point lead in the fourth quarter with 6 minutes to go. If we all remember, Luka and a fan start jawing. The ref throws Luka out of the game. The Thunder end up beating the Lakers by 12. So getting to tonight, there's a lot on the line for both teams. The Thunder, we know, are going to be the favorites. If you had to pick a team to win the title, I think unanimously it would be the Thunder. You might have some Celtics, might have some Spurs, but the Thunder have shown that they're just as good as last year. They have all the talent in the world, and they have something to prove. They're trying to prove that the upstart Lakers, because that has been a kind of thought process the last month of, yeah, the Spurs and the Thunder are cut above, but what team outside of those could challenge in the West? And people have looked to the Lakers because they beat in Houston, because they have the tiebreaker with Minnesota, Houston, and Denver. Are they the best of the West? That's not the Spurs and Oklahoma City. And the Lakers have flaws. They've been playing excellent defense the last month, but no one's going to confuse them for some amazing lockdown defensive team. And I think rebounding at times has been a concern. They only average about 41 rebounds a game. DeAndre Ayton and Jackson Hayes can be really up and down. And in this game tonight, I think DeAndre Ayton's going to have a huge showing. But this game tonight, the Thunder are trying to prove that the Lakers don't belong on the same floor with them. And to this point so far this season, when they played them, they've shown that. And frankly, they've shown it against pretty much everyone in the league, not named San Antonio or Minnesota, actually, who have both played OKC really well so far this season. And the Lakers have a lot to prove tonight. I mean, you're talking about a game that isn't a playoff game, but basically is a playoff game. Because if the Lakers get run tonight, let's say they lose by 20. Let's say they're constantly at a 12-point deficit the entire time. People are going to go, all right, well, yeah, they're better than the rest of the West and they're better than the middle tier of the East, but they're not big time contenders. If they get run tonight, no one's going to think that they can go on the road in a month in a series against Oklahoma City and compete. If they win tonight, I think it's the culmination of the last month of them beating upper tier competition. And then the Lakers really get put on notice because they win tonight and you beat Oklahoma City. I'm not going to come on tomorrow talking about how the Lakers are the favorite for the title. Oklahoma City would still be a favorite. San Antonio would still be a favorite. But then I think you'd be able to poke some holes in the arguments of that it's a foregone conclusion that the Spurs and the Thunder are meeting the Western Conference Finals. Because the Spurs, for all the love that they deserve, Wemby's never played a playoff game. And to just think that he's just going to run through this thing, maybe he will. Maybe he'll win a ring and we'll be on a long career of Wemby just ripping off rings left and right, which could be a thing. But they haven't been here before. In Oklahoma City, we haven't seen. They've looked not vulnerable times here. They haven't looked quite as dominant. I think a lot of that has to do with their board and the fact that they've won the championship and they're just kind of walking through the regular season trying to get to the postseason. But there's a lot on the game tonight. And then another reason why, another facet of the game that's besides the Lakers trying to prove they belong and the Thunder trying to keep him at bay is Luka SGA. And I believe we got some sound here. Wemby was on Scott Van Pelt last night. He was talking about, he basically was praising himself of that. Yeah. No, I know oh, okay. Do we have the first take sound? Oh, okay. All right. Never mind. We'll get that coming up next. Anyway, I'll recap what it was. First take, Wemby was on Scott Van Pelt last night. It was talking about how he was kind of campaigning. Scott Van Pelt asked him, like, does the MVP matter to you? And he said, yeah. He's like, I worked my whole life to try to be an MVP. And especially in a sport where we debate players and everyone's had the argument with their family and friends at the barbecue because, how many MVPs did this guy win? How many championships has this guy won? In the NBA, like no other sport, if you haven't won a ring, there's a cap to how, quote, great you can be. Because in the NFL, Dan Marino's one of the great passers of all time, but he can't play defense. And you can have one of the best hitters. Mike Trout is an unbelievable baseball player, one of the great hitters of the last 2 decades. And yet he's had 3 playoff games his whole career. So because he can't pitch, he can't do the rest of the, make up for the loss of the team. But Wemby was kind of praising the MVP himself and why he should be in the MVP conversation, and he should. But it kind of got me thinking that it's funny how Wemby is the second odds-on favorite right now behind SGA. Wemby, maybe it's because he's the new kid on the block, but he has been the guy that everyone has just universally praised. And as he should, he's averaging 24 points per game, only 3 assists per game. He's actually playing the fewest minutes of anyone in the MVP conversation. And the really top 5 in the MVP conversation are SGA, Wemby, Luka, Jokic, and Jaylen Brown. Rarely we see an NBA season, because of the sample size of the NBA season, that this late in the year, with only a few games to go, we're having conversations. You could make an argument. People can hit me on the text line right now, 70470, start your message with team. Who do you think it is? I think you can make a case for Jaylen Brown, Nikola Jokic, Luka, all these guys you could make a case for. And I like that Wemby was actually campaigning for it. I think some people had a problem with that he was, trying to campaign for the award and kind of vouch for it. He should want to be MVP. But when we've heard SGA kind of say in the last week, I let my play do the talking. Luka's kind of deflected every question when it comes to that, kind of along the same narrative. I let my play do the talking. And it's fun that this late in the year we have this competition late. But I would say in terms of the MVP race, it's like Wemby may be the best player this year, but he's played the fewest minutes. And you could really make an argument. I was talking about this the other day. Jaylen Brown and Luka might be the most valuable players to their team. Because if you take Jaylen Brown off the Celtics with Jason Tatum out for a majority of the year, they're not in the playoffs. If you take Luka off the Lakers are a lottery team. They are not even sniffing the postseason of where they're at right now. Jokic, the Nuggets won a lot of games when he was out. SGA, when he was out, the Thunder won a ton of games. And Wemby is a core focal point of the team, but he also has excellent guards in De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle. So there's a lot here that it's funny to me how Luka gets decimated for, quote, not playing defense. SGA gets killed for being a, quote, foul merchant and creating most of his points at the free throw line. And I don't know when we've kind of put caveats on these guys as MVPs. Like James Harden took a gazillion free throws. We didn't complain. I mean, he won MVP, and but we complain about that with SGA. Luka doesn't play excellent defense. We can all accept that. But again, Brent was talking about yesterday, James Harden, Steph Curry, none of these guys played excellent defense. Like, it's like none of these guys, when would the defense become the number one thing as to what made you an NBA MVP? Because if it is, then hand the award to Jaylen Brown. Because Jaylen Brown might be the best defender in the NBA, and he's kept the Celtics afloat throughout the entire Eastern Conference. It's an interesting conversation. I'm curious what happens tonight if Luka and the Lakers do go in to the Thunder and get a win. Does that shoot Luka up the MVP odds? Does he put him really in it? If SGA and the Thunder beat the crap out of the Lakers tonight, I think it really cements SGA as the MVP. Or does Luka not have a shot? And if the Lakers win tonight, it knocks SGA back and it really gives Wemby the MVP. Love to hear your thoughts. Text us 70470. Start your message with team, or give us a call at 877-767-4760. Again, 877-767-4760. All right, coming up next on Going Long, the Raiders got a new quarterback in town. Not the guy we were thinking of. We're going to get into that next. Coming up next on Going Long on the San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app. Welcome back to Going Long. Coming up next, in the next segment, we got Annie Halbrun joining to talk a little Padres and what she's feeling the first week or so of the season. Then a little crossover with Sliwa and Schaefer at 2:45. All right, so Kirk Cousins going to the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I got mixed thoughts on this because. So I've always been, and if you heard with, if you listen to Fletch and I, you know that I've always said that I would rather start my quarterback immediately. I would rather not sit for a year and waste a year of potential production when they could be kind of getting their sea legs under them. Because especially in the NFL now, to where it's like you have to playing on a rookie deal, having a star quarterback on a rookie deal really gives you a championship type window where you're able to, go out and get that slot receiver, get that slot corner, something that you can't always do when you pay a guy. Now, Kirk Cousins is signing with the Raiders. Clint Kubiak, the new head coach, former OC of the Seattle Seahawks, has hinted at the veteran quarterback to, quote, hold down the fort until Mendoza gets up to speed. It's hard because, like, with Mendoza, I get it a little bit more from the Raiders' perspective in that you're playing in a division with the Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs, all teams that the Broncos were in the AFC title game last year. Bo Nix doesn't get hurt. Maybe they're playing the Super Bowl. Chargers are getting their tackles back. Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, they should be better. And the Chiefs, like they were 2 years ago when they were fortunate going 11-0 in one-score games, they went, 1-8? And so you're looking for a little regression to the mean there. And Kenneth Walker joining, the amount of draft picks the Chiefs have, the 9th and the 29th pick, the Chiefs should be there. So even if the Raiders are good, and I think that I wouldn't say they're going to be good, but I think they're going to have some moments. Tyler Linderbaum, I love what they did on the defensive side, signing Quay Walker and Nakobe Dean. Max Crosby now back in the picture. The trade rescinded from the Baltimore Ravens. So you kind of look at this roster with Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty, and you look around and you go, they're not barren of talent, even though this is the Raiders. Not playing Mendoza, you're going to be playing a brutal schedule in the AFC West. So I get where you don't want to just throw them to the Wolves, but I also like a year of development. I think just wasting that and throwing Kirk Cousins out there just to kill time. I mean, Mendoza is a pro-ready quarterback. This is not Ty Simpson. Mendoza played at Cal, then went to Indiana, played in, won the Heisman, that game against Miami, the championship where he had the scramble on the 4th and 6 or the 4th and 4. I mean, he showed a lot of growth going into Penn State. Omar Cooper Jr., the touchdown in the back of the end zone. I don't really get the whole just wait and see. With the Raiders, I'm a little bit more okay with it because I don't think the Raiders are going anywhere this year, and they're not going to be in a position to get a QB next year because the next year's quarterback class, Dante Moore from Oregon, Lenore Sellers from South Carolina, Jaden Mayaba from USC, and Arch Manning from Texas are all coming out. So it's supposed to be a stacked quarterback class next year. Now, whether Mendoza was not a great player this year, let's say he starts and he kind of struggles a little bit as a rookie, the Raiders are signaling that he's the number 1 overall pick. He's going to be the future of the franchise. Now, Ty Simpson is a guy who's flying up draft boards, the second quarterback from Alabama. And because it's a really weak quarterback class outside of Mendoza, you're seeing Simpson fly up the boards. A lot of rumor about the Jets, the Cardinals, the Steelers are one of these teams in the teens of the first round going to be able to take Ty Simpson and hope he develops. Him, I would not sit. Because even though he's more raw than Mendoza, you got to know, like if he is going to be, if there is something there and you're going to start him, then you want to see it now. Because we've seen over the NFL over the last few years, the patience with first round quarterbacks are gone. I mean, Mahomes sat for a year is kind of an outlier behind Alex Smith, hits the ground running is fantastic. Lamar sits for the first half of his rookie season, hits the ground running is fantastic. Justin Herbert was kind of the guy who changed all this because Herbert, if you remember, Tyrod Taylor got his lung punctured week 2 against the Chiefs. He's a last minute replacement. Justin Herbert's in. Justin Herbert is destroying it immediately. And now it's almost unfair. Like we talked about Caleb Williams and guys like Bo Nix and Drake May, guys that had significant year 2 jumps. If you're not showing massive flashes by week 6 of the NFL season, they're already looking at the quarterbacks for next year. Jaden Daniels made it hard for the rest of that quarterback class because he took the Washington Commanders, a downtrodden franchise, to the NFC Championship game in his first year. And now all of a sudden we know Caleb Williams is looking like the next superstar in the NFL. Bo Nix, a very talented player, and Drake May just played in the Super Bowl. But it's like, I hear this with the Browns. They're talking about Jimmy Haslam. I'm going to start. Deshaun Watson has a real opportunity to start. Well, then why'd you take Shedeur? Because the Browns actually are in a spot where they took Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round. If you throw him out here this year, let's say he sucks and he's terrible. The Browns are going to be picking at the top of the draft and have their pick of the litter between Arch Manning and Dante Moore and Maeva and all the quarterbacks I just listed, and finally get their franchise guy. If Shedeur Sanders turns out to be something, and everyone in the draft that let him slip to the 5th round, whether it was because of his dad or because of, quote, him being cocky, and he is something, the Browns may have made the draft pick of a lifetime because they got him in the 5th round and he could be a franchise guy. So going with veteran quarterbacks, your Kirk Cousins, your Deshaun Watsons, your Aaron Rodgers for the Steelers, when you know what they are, they're not the future of your franchise anymore. They're a stopgap. They're a stopgap quarterback. It just feels like you're putting a pause on your franchise having success because the future of the franchise is sitting right there and you're not letting them get experience. Even Mahomes, even Lamar, even all these guys, Josh Allen took a few years where they hit the ground running. They still had rookie mistakes. Mahomes has completely evolved as a passer from his first year with the Chiefs. I mean, 2-3 years in, they played a shell coverage against him and Mahomes couldn't figure it out and made Mahomes look pretty normal. Then he figured it out and went back to playing MVP level football. Lamar Jackson has changed his game over the years. He's improved as an accurate passer. Justin Herbert, it just feels like in today's day and age, maybe it's just us in life. We have less patience in the social media era, but it's what have you done for me lately in the NFL? And sitting quarterbacks, sitting Fernando Mendoza, the number 1 overall pick, which is supposed to hit the ground running with Clint Kubiak in this new offense, feels like a mistake to me. And I would not be going with Kirk Cousins over the future of your franchise. All right, coming up next on Going Long, Annie Halbron joining. Very excited to get to talk to Annie, talking some Padres on the other side on San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Aleve. The Padres are off today. They start a weekend series in Boston tomorrow morning. It's going to be Michael King going against Sonny Gray. First pitch is at 11:10. In other baseball news, the Pirates are calling up Connor Griffin, the number one prospect in all of baseball, ahead of their home opener against Baltimore tomorrow. At 19 years old, Griffin, who is expected to be their starting shortstop, would be the first teenage position player to debut since Juan Soto in 2018. And tonight we've got Lakers basketball on San Diego Sports 760 when they take on OKC. Our pregame coverage will begin at 6:15 and we'll have the tip at 6:30. At some point, body pain may creep in and become your reality that day, but Aleve is here to keep you moving. One pill gives you up to 12 hours of body pain relief, so don't let pain hold you back. Try Aleve today. Use as directed.
Ain't nothing wrong with a little heat getting warm around here.
Light the fires, Big Daddy.
Who's next in the hot seat?
Welcome back to Going Long on San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. Very special guest today, Annie Halbrin, working journalist with the UT, joining me, jumping in the hot seat. Annie, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Sammy. How are you? Congrats on the show.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate you you stopping by. So when you look at the Padres, the first week here of the season, we've kind of been going back and forth. A lot of people on the text line have been mixed. A lot of people kind of have the mindset of it's early, can't really take too much away from this team. And then there's a lot of people who are kind of frustrated with the way this team's played, especially the lack of bats from the Padres. Where do you kind of fall on all that?
Yeah, I definitely understand the frustration. I mean, it was not a good opening homestand. It was less than ideal. It was tough to watch at times. The bats definitely were way too quiet for anyone's liking. The starting pitching, I thought, was troubling. It can't keep going that way, or it's going to be difficult to sustain that on a day-to-day basis, not just for the bullpen, but also, look, if the offense is coming to bat, in the first or second inning, already down 3 or 4 runs, of course, they're going to try to catch up to that. But you start to feel like, oh, no, here we go again, So I thought that Nick Pavetta's start yesterday was a good turn in the right direction. I thought Michael King and Randy Vasquez also did a nice job. I thought that Walker Buehler has promise. And I thought that seeing the bats light up a little bit yesterday is a reason for optimism. They had a little help from some errors and whatnot, but still, I fall on the side of like, it's too early. And I know everybody hates that, but I really do think it's too early. I think if you look around the league, there are some teams that got off to a hot start, but a hot start doesn't always mean everything. And every team wants to get off to a hot start. So I think some of these guys just need a little bit more time to get back to the rhythm and the timing. I think it's a lot to be thrown from your routines in spring training to your routines now back in San Diego and now back on the road. It's just a lot of change all at once. So I think, you got to give them a little bit more time to settle in. And you don't want to look back and say, well, those first few weeks made the difference. But I don't necessarily think that's the case. I mean, that's any loss at any point throughout the season. And I think at this point, they're just trying to figure it out and get onto some more consistent ground.
I'm with you. You mentioned the starting pitching, and it was great seeing Nick Pivetta kind of have that recovery outing after the kind of rough start on opening day. But Randy Vasquez, the Padres were kind of singing his praise all through spring training, and at least personally, I think a lot of people Randy Vasquez was kind of forgotten about in the sense of with Joe Musgrove coming back and then the signing of Buehler and Marquez. Do you think he could be become kind of an ace of this rotation, or was this just a one start for him?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he shows a ton of promise. It is one start for him, but he's coming off of some really good starts that he was building on from last season, and then really worked this offseason to get a lot better and to get in better shape, which has helped him a lot. And I'm sure you guys have talked about the connection to you, Darvish, and how you has helped him prepare and make his starts a little bit more productive. And use his off speed better, use his pitch selection better, but then also how he takes care of his body and how he just kind of treats himself as a big leaguer. I think that you had a say in that, or like a hand in that even. So he, from where he was last year, so last spring training, he showed up a little bit out of shape. He didn't have the velocity, But last season, like the last, 5, 6 starts or whatever, he tacked on some more velocity. He started to just look better, less traffic, looked more confident out there, used his pitches better, and then used this offseason to really improve. And so I think when you look at that, and spring training too, he built on that. You look at a guy who is looking at his career going, okay, maybe I didn't do all the things I was supposed to in the beginning, and maybe he didn't even know what those things were, right? But he has figured in the last year or so to really start to take things seriously and really work on his craft and become, I think, responsible for his hard work and for improving. And I think when you look at a guy like that, I think that there's a lot of promise when you get that kind of buy-in from a pitcher. He's got a really good relationship with Ruben Niebla as well. But adding that velocity has been huge. He's now hitting more upper 90s, and that's going to help him a lot facing opponents, but then also he's got a good pitch mix to boot on top of that. So, you're right, Sammy. This is a guy who was under the radar, who wasn't a big piece of that trade when they got Michael King. He was kind of a forgotten piece a little bit, but he could turn into someone that we're looking at towards the end of the season. There's always one or two of these guys who are looking at the end of the season and going, wow, that was a huge piece of this Padres campaign.
Andy Halpern working with the UT, jumping on with me right now. From what you're hearing with Joe Musgrove, obviously starting off the season, him not being able to pitch was a little disappointing, but per all signs, he should be back in a month or so. I don't know what you're hearing in regards to that, but when he does come back, what do you think the schedule is with him? Do you think they're going to bring him along very slowly, or it'll just be one kind of hit the ground running once he's back?
Yeah, good question. I think it is a mystery. What is the situation for Joe Musgrove? And I think even for Joe Musgrove a little bit, it's a bit of a mystery, and for the team. So it is a good sign that last week he was throwing the ball for the first time since he paused spring training because he was feeling discomfort in his arm. And he mentioned last week that he no longer feels that same discomfort he was feeling back in spring training. That's a good sign. He had an MRI. It didn't show up anything it didn't show up anything excessively terrible. He mentioned that, an MRI after a Tommy John is always a bit of a mixed bag, right? But it didn't show anything that he needed to be concerned about is what I want to say there. So I think those are all positive signs, but I haven't heard much from him lately, and I think it's going to be a slow build up. I think that they haven't put a timeline on it for a reason, because the reason being is that I think they're all cognizant that there might be more setbacks along the way. And if they put a timeline on it and we're all looking toward that timeline and then there's more setbacks, it just causes more frustration and, negativity, I think, around the situation. So I am so hopeful for Joe. He's worked so hard, but he really needs to go at his own pace. I think maybe, if you can get him back even mid-season, and I'm not saying that he won't come back sooner. He definitely could come back sooner than that. But say you did, and he was really healthy and feeling good, and the Padres were able to make a run for the playoffs. Well, now you've got a guy who, similar to Blake Snell last year for the Dodgers, who's got kind of a live arm and has a more fresh arm, maybe going into the playoffs. So I don't think that they're intentionally doing that, but I think that there's a realization that, this guy is going to probably stop and start and stop and start. And we want to sort of minimize that as much as possible, but also support him in getting back on the field as soon as possible. And it's just kind of going to be up to his body where that lands.
That's a great point. Even with the Dodgers, it's like that was kind of the recipe for success for them, was that Snell and Glasnow and Sasaki and these guys weren't really pitching for a large portion of the season. Musgrove kind of could be that X factor that comes in halfway through the season. You had some great footage actually of Mason Miller and the corn walkout going kind of viral there. But I'm curious, it's fun as fans and seeing the bullpen, which is certainly the calling card of this Padres team. But does it concern you that it's like in the Padres wins, they feel like they're winning a certain way where they're getting a few run lead and then they're having the bullpen come in? Is there concern with Craig Stammen as a rookie manager that he's going to rely on this bullpen too much and their arms could be a little shot towards the end of the season?
I think that he's going to be really cognizant of that. I think that he believes in his bullpen arms as a former reliever. But I also think that he looked back. I think one of the best things about Craig right now, and I know people are, maybe aren't so confident in it, but one of the best things about him is he is acknowledging that he could have already done some things better. And I think maybe he even looks at that Kyle Hart, third inning, which I still believe that he believes that he had all the faith in the world in Kyle Hart. But I think that he's at least looking at, should I have done that? Was that the right thing to do? And the reason I think that that's a good sign is because you've got a manager who's, it's not insecurity. It's more he's willing to learn and grow and figure some things out. And he's not sitting there. I think it'd be scarier. And we have, there have been managers like this. I think it'd be scarier if he was like, nope, that's
got it all figured out.
And yeah, I got it all figured out. And he's acknowledging he doesn't. Now I know that, this is a team that has World Series aspirations. And so you don't want a lot of, I guess, losses to be riding on a rookie manager for sure, but at the same time, I don't think that's the case. I think if you were asked, could there have been some better decisions by him? Possibly. We never know how there could have been another decision, but we all assume that decision would have turned out great. And we never know if that decision would have turned out great, So, but I think he's acknowledged, and he said it in his press conference yesterday, that he has, learned some things in this first homestand, and there's some things he could have done better. And I think he's going to lean on this coaching staff around him that has experience even more. But I think Craig's a quick learner, and I think Craig really cares. And I don't think if you asked one guy in that clubhouse, hey, do you blame your manager, your hitting coach for this last week? They would look at you and they would roll their eyes, because it's not them, So as bad as like some of these things were, the players just didn't hit, and they all know how, So I feel like that's a problem on their part, and whatnot. And there's enough to be spread around here. But look, Craig, we don't know how Craig's going to turn out, but I do think it's too early to be writing him off.
Lastly, you mentioned the bats there. It's always kind of been thought of that the starts of the season, pitchers are kind of going to be ahead of hitters, but like I was always kind of thinking that maybe with the WBC we would see some of these guys kind of get off to better starts. Do you chalk up the first week to just kind of an odd first week at Petco, or when do you start getting concerned about the bats moving forward?
Yeah, I don't know. We're going to find out if it was an odd week at Petco or not, right? Like because it could be. I mean, that's kind of what I look at it as. I look at it as like there's so much going on with opening week, and it's kind of a chaotic, craziness. And also, by the way, like they've been with their families, like all spring training. Then you come back to San Diego, you're getting your house situated, you're getting all your kids situated, going to schools. Like, I'm not saying that that's taking them away from what they need to be doing, but it's just a lot. Like, I just feel like there's a lot happening this week, and it happens really quickly. You leave spring training on a Monday, you have opening day on a Thursday, and it just all goes really fast. And so, I think some of it is quirkiness and baseball being weird. I think some of it is the WBC, I think, is a great point by you. And, I did think that maybe we would see some payoff from that. But, they are facing also better pitchers. They were facing a lot better pitchers this last week, at least on Thursday and Friday, than maybe they were seeing all the time in the WBC. And then on top of that, I wonder, sometimes you just have weird years where like they're better on the road, or they have a terrible April, but then May they're just like, winning record easily or whatever. So it's just so hard to look at it right now and know. But I do think that if you're a month in and guys are just like not raising their batting averages and, not hitting for power and all these numbers are sort of stagnant, I would say even maybe 2 or 3, 2 weeks in, you're probably in trouble, right? So,
yeah.
So I don't like to evaluate until like a month in, really. And guys having way more at bats and plate appearances. But I think what the problem is right now is what we've seen with the problem with the Padres in the past, which is like their entire lineup goes cold at the same time. And I think that is just such a tough thing. So hopefully, I'm not sure everyone's going to get hot at the same time, but hopefully over the next week or two, you start to see guys breaking out of that, and then it starts to become contagious after that.
That's a great point too about them being people too. We forget that they got to get their home situated and things like that. It is a lot. Annie, thank you so much. Give her a follow on X. Annie Halbrun, working with the UT. Annie, thank you so much for hopping on with me today.
Thanks, Sandy. Anytime. Take care.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right. Coming up next, you see him in the shot right now. The one and the only John Schaefer. We might have Sliwa. He's at a casino right now getting ready for a Hoop Stock broadcast tonight. But that's on the other side. Coming up next on San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app. DJ Sperry cutting it up today. Closing this thing out, going long with me, with Sammy. And then we got two very special guests coming up next. Obviously, you all know Schaefer and Sliwa. We welcome in John Schaefer right now. What's up, dude? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Looking forward to the next 3 hours with Alan. We've got a good show lined up, and it's a busy night. And Alan and I will touch on this more, but it's a busy night in the NBA. Eric Pincus, Bleacher Report, is going to join us coming up at 4 p.m. Obviously, the Lakers and Thunder is big. The Clippers and Spurs also big. So I know Alan's looking forward to that. And of course, we'll touch on the Padres through week 1 of the Major League season.
Yeah. So I was going to ask both of you guys. I was like, I opened the show talking with the Lakers Thunder tonight because it's funny how when we talk about the Padres and it's hard a week into the season. Can you overreact? Can you underreact? And the same can be said a little bit for the NBA. I think over 82 games, teams that look good early on doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be good at the end of the season. But this Lakers Thunder game tonight, there's so much riding on it. In the sense of the MVP race, Luka and Shea are literally neck and neck for this, with SGA being more of a favorite. And the Lakers are trying to crack through and prove that they belong, because they've beaten a lot of subpar teams, a lot of playoff teams, but they haven't beaten teams toward the top. And it is fun that we're getting a kind of playoff feel NBA matchup a week or two before the end of the regular season. That's going to tell us a lot about the Lakers and the Thunder.
Yeah. First, I'll just say this, John. Why does he always say hi to you and never says hi to me?
It is unbelievable.
Why can't I get just like a nice, warm hello? Alan, how you doing? How's your day going? Because he comes to you
personal, like
Schaefer. He comes to you, and immediately just wants to know how you're doing. Asks, hey, any loans you have outstanding? Let me help out.
Sliwa, I talked to you this morning.
You did. That part's true. Yeah, we did have a long conversation.
Yeah, but we talked even earlier in the morning.
We talked. John and I have talked 9 times, and when the show starts with him and I, we're probably going to ask, "How are you doing?"
Yes.
How are you doing, Alan?
I'm doing good, thank you. That's a little personal, by the way. I don't need you to ask all these questions.
Yeah, stop asking that, man.
All right, okay. So you were talking about, you mentioned Lakers and the Thunder. It's interesting, and I think you're at the point of the season. I mean, listen to us overreacting 6 games into the Padres, which I'm with you. Listen, I have overreacted. I just listened. Great interview with you and Annie, and she's mentioning give it 30 days, this and that. I think there are a lot of people that look at either 162 games or 82 games, whatever sport it is, and they have an idea of determining, okay, this is important at this stage or it's not. Lakers and the Thunder, this has got to be like a championship game for the Los Angeles Lakers. Of course, not literally, but it is the biggest game they've played so far up to this point of the season, and it's because those are the defending champs. It's different when if you're the Padres, and it's different when you play Philadelphia. It's different when you play, if you get a chance to go up against the Dodgers, or even if it's regular season, right? But there's certain teams that you face that it's just not the same, and this definitely is different for the Lakers as it would be if you're 5 months into the season, you're playing a series against the Dodgers in September. That's different for the Padres.
John, I'm curious what you were thinking. Alan and I were actually talking this morning on his channel, Hoops Talk, about the MVP race, because it's usually it's this far late in the season, it's usually someone is pulled ahead of everyone else, and it's kind of a weird year where you have Wemby and SGA and Luka. But I'm curious from the perspective of Wemby was campaigning. I don't know if you saw this last night. He was campaigning on Scott Van Pelt about how he should get it. SGA and Luka have kind of backed out of this thing. Like, I let my play do the talking. Do you like that from Wemby, or are you more like just let it be?
We'll talk about this coming up on the show, but I guess my first blush thought on it, or like initial glance thought on it, is I'm comfortable with that, but I do think it should be determined based on play. By the way, Victor Wembanyama is playing out of his mind, and he should be in the conversation. For me, it's weird. I've talked to Alan about this. For whatever, my wife is obsessed with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. She's like this diehard NBA fan. She needs like Hoops Talk with Kristen to compete.
She can come on anytime.
No, she needs. You know what's funny? We could have had. I need a reaction from a Thunder. Somebody who is a Thunder fan or a beat reporter.
I don't know if she's an
writer.
insider.
Next week, Lakers play Thunder again. Her and I should talk.
Hey,
I need to see a different perspective here.
But here's my point. In watching Shai as often as I have over the last year, since the NBA Finals, basically, or the playoffs to now, I have a newfound respect. I think the guy's awesome. Now, I understand some of the foul merchant stuff. He gets to the line a million times. I get it. But I don't think he's just gifted opportunities to the line. I think
agree.
He understands how to get to the line, but I also think he's a great closer. I think some of his best moments have come late in games, and he like welcomes it. He's on the best team, and he's the best player on the best team. So, I mean, I think Wemby's a great player. I'm not going to lose sleep if he wins it, but I think Shea's a terrific player and a terrific team, and I think he's earned it as well. Luka's completely turned on his play. I don't think Luka wins this. I think we may all agree on that. I think he's maybe making it a little more competitive, but I think ultimately it's going to be Shea or Wemby. And I think at the end of the day, it's actually going to be Shea over Wemby.
I'm with you. SGA, it is odd for how great he is seems like a likable guy for how much he gets criticized. Like James Harden got fouled all the time and went to the free throw line.
But he was criticized too. I think the problem with Harden is he was criticized more, not just because of that, because some of the worst highlights you could possibly see in the NBA where somebody doesn't play a lick of defense is James Harden. So that also doesn't help. Let me ask both of you guys this question, because I think the foul baiting and everything else, I hate it. I really can't stand it. And this is somebody that watches a lot of Lakers basketball. And let me just tell you, there's some foul baiters that are wearing the purple and gold. Luka does it all the time. Austin Reeves finds a way to do it. But I have a difficult time for those that go at SGA. He does foul bait. He's really good at it. Well, if you're the NBA, change the freaking rules of how you officiate these games. Stop crediting these players. Like, it's not SGA's fault he's going to the line 20 times in a game. All he's doing is doing what the NBA is allowing him to do. There's too many times where it's the same thing we talked about with the lottery or not the tanking. Well, don't give benefit to teams for losing, and it's the same thing with refereeing. Stop giving opportunities for players to get those fouls called. Don't call them.
Completely agree. Up against the clock here. Looking forward to listening to you boys on the other side. I'll be back tomorrow with Fletch at 12 o'clock, and make sure to tune in to Schaefer and Sliwa starting here in 3 minutes. Coming up next on San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app.